Looky, brains. Look at this. What in the world are we going to dig into tonight? Oh my God. Let me tell you. You guys have heard me talk about my friend, my Egyptian Egyptology, archaeology, researcher, great guy type. You've heard me mention Richard Gabriel, right? You've heard me mention his name. And it every time I've ever mentioned his name, you've heard me tie it to things that we're not supposed to know about and or things that we are not privy to because it's buried under the plateau or under anything and everything Egypt, right? Let me tell you what, tonight, Mr. Richard Gabriel is joining us once again for, I believe this is like, I was talking to him off air. I think this is his 4th time up here on the Matrix. Some of you guys have seen him, others of you have not. But nevertheless, I'm not even going to play the intro to the broadcast. I want to have as much time with Richard as we possibly can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm just literally going to bring Richard up. Straight up is going to be just Richard. And yeah, let me see if I can make Richard the solo guy. Hang on one second. You need to remove my damn self somehow. It's not letting me do it. It's not letting me do it. Maybe. Hang on. Yeah, Richard. It's not letting me. I love technical difficulties. Whenever I first tried to call Richard, it's like, no, you can't call Richard. There he is. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here. You guys, hopefully no problems. Go over here. Make sure that we'll be able to hear Mr. Richard Gabriel, I think. Right, there he is down below me. And of course, it changed the layout on me. Richard, you're still with me, buddy. You're still with me, and we got you. So, I'll tell you what.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Just say hello. I'll worry about the screen. I'll worry about all this crap. You just welcome again, bro. Welcome to the broadcast. You've been here. I do want to say 4 times, right?
Yeah, sure. And don't worry about it, Matthew. Just go ahead because. Snags are par for the course.
Yeah.
Whenever we're doing something, whenever something's going on, there is always some kind of snag. In fact, wherever I go, I do get accused of tampering with the electronics because it does seem to send the electronics a little bit crazy. It's just one of those things. The force is acting on the other side to stir things up and disrupt them a little bit.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. This I think the last time it was also we had some issues. I do believe, but I think it was on your end. This time around, it's on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. What is going on? And I'm you know what? I'm just gonna cut to the chase. I didn't print out any questions because I'm gonna let the audience feed off of you, and you feed off of the questions to the audience. Tell them a little bit about you and give them a rundown as to who you are, okay? Just whatever you want to share, okay? That's not going to lead back into or put you in jeopardy or anybody, any of the team. Just share with everybody. Who's Richard Gabriel?
Okay, fair enough. No problem at all, Matthew. Press the button and away I go. The time I get warmed up, you'll be wanting to stop me. So
somebody stop him.
So who am I? Well, I guess my life has been a little bit strange, a little bit extraordinary. I say to people, supernatural things don't happen around me. Supernormal things do happen around me. And that seems to have been the pattern of my life since earliest memories when I was a little tot, tiny tot. And I mean, the first part of my life really was all about coming to terms with these strange things and trying to understand what they were about, what they were meant to convey. When I started having sort of mature memory thoughts, it was a hourly, daily, weekly battle to understand what they were. When I was a little child, these strange things. Things like I called my faces. I used to see people coming and going. It was as if I was in a railway station, and a stream of people would be coming and going all the time. And occasionally somebody would stop to talk to me, to try and console me. But all I wanted was for my mother to come and put the light on for me to go to sleep. And back then I was afraid of things, but the fear left me because they became normalized. And I don't know, as I was growing up, all these sort of strange things, precognitions and premonitions, and I used to have out of body experiences even as a young kid. Um, Things happened with my sister as well, and she handled it badly. Um, but I went on eventually, sort of through the years, formative years at school. Stupid things happened there, in that genre of happenings. Um, and it wasn't until I was, let's just say, centre on 30 years old. I was living in Germany at the time, working in Berlin, and um, I'd done out my own apartment in the place, the block where I stayed, and at night time I was at my own devices. One particular night there, I'd been trying to focus and drive myself crazy to understand and fit together. I felt like I was very close to everything sort of fitting into place in my head. What was the purpose of everything? What was my purpose? What was the universe about? And so on. And I had an experience I call my event at that time where I was laid against the camp bed that I had in the little roof apartment that I'd built out. And it was like, I describe it like an electricity shock going through me. It literally rose me from the floor. I was standing on my feet, and my head was filled with all these connections. Oh, and in my head, I'm going, if that's true, then what about this? Ah, the answer was there. What about this? What about that? How about this? And I asked question after question about life, the universe, and everything, myself, how this fitted together, and the connections were just jumping into my head. um, to the point that I was completely overcome. Well, that went through to the early hours next morning. I was due for work. I phoned into work to say that I was sick, but instead I went for a walk. I walked the avenues of Berlin, which is a urban city, and I continued, and it took a week. Just walking, 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 questioning myself, hardly eating, uh, not going to work, avoiding anybody that I knew. And I took myself after a week to the point of exhaustion, and I exhausted every question I could think of, any query about life, the universe, and everything, and an answer filled my head, and I realized that I come to some sort of juncture in my life where I knew this. I had an understanding of the strategy of how everything fitted together. But I realized at the same time that that didn't excuse me from living the tactics of life, which are infinite. Each twist, turn, movement, encounter sets up a new set of probabilities, strength of probability also, which can throw out a zillion variations. So, knowing the strategy of life, I understood didn't excuse me from having to live the tactics of it all. And everything evolved from there. During early years, a very strange set of circumstances. One of these strange sets of circumstances led me to a room you call a spiritualist church room, just off the cuff from a walk. And there's a story in its own which I've told, but I ended up in there where I felt cheated through the actual service that took place because it just seemed like a sort of backroom version of a normal church service. And I thought, well, what's happening? I didn't know what the heck anything to do with that was about, just vaguely. And this was long before I'd had a sort of clear understanding of where everything was going. And at the end, the secretary stood up and introduced for that night, their visiting medium. Was I perked up at this? I thought, here we go. The
The
show's going to.
visiting medium, huh?
Yes. I thought, yeah, the show's going to start. So my sort of perked up in my seat. I was right at the back trying to feel anonymous.
Oh, by the way, they've done like I told you. We're late. Real quick, we're late. Okay, but on top of that, let me share with you that wherever and however you can get this broadcast to Facebook, they have disabled our stream to Facebook. They knew that this was coming. They knew that this was coming. So the powers that be made it happen. Not only did they not want me to connect with Richard or you guys to hear him, but our channel is now disabled from streaming to the page. Just letting you know that. Just wanted to kick that out. So it's by your hand, the watchers here, whatever, to get this stream broadcast or over to Facebook, because I'm listening. I'm trying behind the scenes to get him streaming to Facebook, especially our page, and it's not happening. It's literally disabled. So great job. I'm pretty good at getting around y'all guys' bullshit hoops, but excellent job. You did a great job on this one.
Okay. Yeah. Doesn't matter. It'll get out there, Matthew. You know, they can delay things, but they can't stop them.
Yeah.
I found that time and time again.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again, it happens. And it's just the battle that's taking place between the light and the dark side.
Great job, guys. Great. Please share this. I'm serious. Listen to me. Please share this broadcast, okay? Because it's not going to happen without you. For real. It's not going to happen without you.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, folks. Yes, I double up on that. Please do. We can beat the dark side, but it really does need you to take action and share, please. So, okay, I'll pick up on the story. Yeah, I was at this thing in the medium. Anyway, I perked up. I'd never been to a medium, and I really knew nothing more than sort of anecdotally what I knew about mediumship and spiritualist church and so on. I'd done some reading and so forth, but here I was, a young chap trying to be as anonymous as I could. But this lady was introduced, and she proceeded in the fashion that I know now is standard to talk to individuals. She would come to them to speak to them, ask them to speak, and then she would proceed, or she did proceed, to talk to those individuals on a personable level. But she was being very, as I know now. I mean, I've got comparative comparisons in my head from other experiences since then. But this lady, she was on a level all of her own. She was talking to people with flowing personal detail to the point that everybody that she came to, she was affecting emotionally considerably, and clearly striking a chord very accurately with all those that she spoke to. And that appealed to me because I don't, I see through mumbo jumbo and nonsense as 100 miles away. And, she seemed finished. It was entertaining, but she finished and she was sort of winding down and she was saying something along the lines of, I feel the energy withdrawing now. But then she stopped and she put her sort of hand to her brow and she said, "Look, before I finish," she said, "there is one message I have to bring." She says, "To you," and she put her hand out with a finger pointing out without even looking. And at the other end of that line of her arm and finger, it was pointing to me right at the back of the room. And I sort of mentally sort of shrunk into the chair, thinking, "Oh my Lord, feeling center of attention and so on, not liking the feeling." And she said, "Yes, you, my dear." And she asked me to speak. And I said, "Yes, thank you. Is it me?" And yes. She then proceeded to talk to me then about the fact that in future, all sorts about my life up till then and all the strange experiences. And she gave me reasoning and understanding to those. Said that the journey for you to gain full understanding of these things won't happen for some years yet. She says, and it won't happen in this country. In fact, she told me that I was going to work in Germany, in Berlin, of all places. Told me I was going to have a book published. Told me that I would be working behind spirit to fulfill a task of understanding to do with spirit and civilization, many other things. She went into enormous detail. In fact, she spoke with me longer than she spoke with anybody in the place, at considerable length. And I mean, she told me things, really, really personal things about my early childhood, which where some quite tragic things happened. There was nobody, absolutely nobody living around me in my circle beyond me had a clue of what she might be talking about. So I mean, I knew that what she was saying was a genuine conversation, and she went on to finish that. Now, everything that she told me that day, and I'm in my 20s when that happened. Um, all those things have come to truth. She mentioned Egypt also, and with the book writing. So that really was a point where I was able to carry forward, knowing despite the tribulations and the traumas that would occur in the years following, I always had that as an anchor point to look back on, knowing that as time unfolded, things that she told me then were gradually unfolding in my life. It wasn't that I was obsessed by it by any means at all. It was just that it was there. It had happened. I can't undo it. It's like the cork was taken out of the bottle and you can't put it back in again. You know, I had that in my memory. So it was an anchor point for me that helped me. And when I eventually had I call my event in Berlin in Germany, when I was in 1980, say 30 years old, um, then everything fitted into place, everything knitted. Finally, that was a sort of nemesis, that the moments of everything coming together, and and the huge trauma of it was that understanding the way all these things worked. Um, it was wonderful. It was a clarity in the mind, but also it was a huge burden because I knew from that point forward, having now got this understanding of the law of one myself, I knew that at the same time I wasn't exempt from going forward under uh, minute by minute, second by second, evolving tactics of how things come together, fit together. So it was a burden. I knew that it was a blessing and a curse. I understood everything, but from that moment forward, I knew that there was nothing, anything, good or bad, in my life that could happen without me knowing that I was responsible for it. It was my responsibility. I couldn't blame anybody else for anything. However, it happened, I knew and understood that my pathway through it all was either from the past or from the present, but that it was my responsibility, as it is for everybody else, whether they understand that, know it or not. Good or bad, that is how it is. And even now, oh, I mean, I think it's extraordinary the way things have proceeded through my life. And I found myself in Egypt pursuing the driven motivation that I had to fulfill something through Egypt.
Well, you were told by the medium there's something going on between you, your soul, and Egypt. You were told this at a very young age.
Yes, that's right. Yes, in my 20s. And you know, as things started to unfold for Egypt, that was extraordinary itself.
Right.
And in Egypt, I mean, the things that happened were just, I mean, I've written about these, you know, so it's hardly necessary to, I could take hours to go through these, but in Egypt, I mean, I say to people, look, I'm, you know, I was well educated. That's fair. I had a good education growing up, but it wasn't what you might call a classic academic route. Um, I live my life and always have done intuitively, um, and I follow what's happening up here in my head or what's given to me to understand of a situation,
Mm-hmm.
and I follow those intuitions, and they guide me and take me, or my mind is on another level. Whoever who must wring their hands most of the time, but they guide me. Those forces guide me to situations that other people would never find themselves in.
Well, you've got
Extraordinary.
yourself in a hell of a situation now. You, for real, the world is about to figure out and see what you've been what you and our team's been seeing under the plateau.
Yes,
Richard,
that's right.
we've got to get some of this more. We got to speed this up. We've only got 2 hours with you, and we've got so many people. So we've got questions.
Okay,
So
go,
let's
go, go.
speed this up. Speed this up to the plateau. We know from my experience with you. We know that you are literally you were born, bred, and maybe even spiritualistically picked to do this.
Sure, yes. I mean, I just accept it as a matter of fact. And what it amounted to was, I mean, I found a place on the plateau that became an obsession. Again, I was driven to. I call it an obsession, but maybe I was just following a course that I'd pre-chosen
All
to
right.
follow.
Oh,
And
it's an addiction. Even me, who's not had boots on the ground over there. True. Oh, yeah, I'm with you. It's an
yeah,
obsession. Yeah.
and it ended up with me getting into the plateau, under the plateau, via the entrance that's known as NC2, Northcliffe 2, which is a designation that was given during the wartime. The front part of that tomb was used as a shelter during the war for people to do with the harbour building up above. But NC2 is an entrance that leads into a developed tomb area at the front, but um, the entrance within it then leads down deep into the plateau, deep under the plateau, and it's possible to negotiate through those passages that, in part, if not wholly, at some time way in the distant past, were reamed out by the flow of water. And it is possible at the moment to penetrate to a depth of about 350 feet, where there is a forced passage through the rock of about 2 feet, a tunnel which I tagged with the name the Tube Tunnel. And that has been blocked from the bottom end, I have to say. It was a bit of a mystery at the time to think how and where somebody might have got in. The authorities would have got in to block it at the bottom. We can talk about motivations in a minute, but they did, and I was able to evidence the fact, tangibly evidence the fact. And again, we'll get into that in a moment. And that was done by the authorities, motivated for a particular reason, which I believe is to do with the deeper underground that it leads to as a major way into and under the plateau. Not exclusively, but certainly a major one. When you go down inside there, perhaps this is jumping forward a little bit, but I'll touch on it and it'll put better context to it. You might say, if there was something further deeper in the plateau that satisfies the legend of there being a city and an ancient repository under the ground there, which at one time was like Cappadocia and other underground cities across the world, capable of housing thousands of people, then it was to do with a time of catastrophe in the world, inundation and flood, where the underground facility was prepared with foresight as a place of survival, rescue and survival for those people who went through the catastrophe, the flood catastrophe.
No,
If you look,
hang on. So people can understand what we're dealing with on. First of all, you and I, our colleagues, understand what NC2 is, standing for Northcliffe 2.
yeah,
There are, however, those that in the audience that do not know exactly how we're told we see all they see is the top level. Okay, they see the pyramids. They see the things that academiology shares with them that they see that's only 4,000, only air quotes 4,500. Let's give it 5,000 max years old, right? God forbid you go beyond that, right?
yeah.
Well, what you and our boys are doing predate that by what would you say, 10,000 years?
Yes, easily, because it's been a bit of a game, really, to date what we're seeing down there.
Mm-hmm.
As you go down in through the system, and okay, I can pick up on what you're saying and perhaps elaborate a little bit, Matthew. when you go through the doorway into what is known as NC2, you go into a level, first of all, what we call the ground level. It's below the level of the plateau, but it's over the back end of the plateau, the north side of it. And you go in through a level, the doorway into a long corridor. As you go into the entrance of NC2, if you look right and look left, there were, until they were damaged by the authorities, little steps that went down either side, narrow little stone steps. And on the left-hand side, those steps, which are still intact on the left-hand side, they go down and they lead to two chambers, two large chambers. On the right-hand side, the steps also went down, but they're largely now gone because I call them, sort of got stuck in my head to call them the rape team. In other words, the team by the authorities who go in damaging stuff to try and obfuscate the purpose of the whole thing. Have dug those up, dug them down into a deep pit below there, and damaged the steps. But down that side, when you go down below, on the left-hand side, there's a chamber, right-hand side one, then there are three very, very large and long chambers, 30-foot long, that have all got sort of secrets and things about them. And then there's a couple of further down through, there are a couple of further chambers. Now on the right-hand side, I mean, I know and I've photographed and been in there before they put the gate up, before Havas put the gate up on the entrance. And there were things down in there, the sarcophagi, the form of crocodile heads and so on, which were made to disappear in between visits. But bear in mind that when it was gated after some controversy, I had to find a way in there, which I did, which cost me dearly, and nerves, knocked a few years off my life for sure. And it wasn't easy, but under the rules of these strange things that happened to me, with people, unseen hands guiding me, I always found ways around things, or they presented themselves to me to overcome any obstacles, and I successively I was able to find my way into NC2, into the underground, and to find a point on it over the period of the last, at least 15 years. I've been over to Egypt, to Cairo, lived with the locals in the village, been helped by them, been shown innumerably to underground sites, ways underground, tunnels, shafts, God knows what, and then with NC2 into NC2, where equipped properly in the darkness, and with the torches and things, equipment that I brought with me. I spent hours, and I do this. I know this sounds a little bit theatrical, but it's the only way I can really convey it, because it's a truth. It's, to me, it's like a part of the life that I've lived. I spent hours down there, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and days and hours down there. Now that sort of puts the thumb on it. And during the time there, I've got to add this. It goes with what I've just said, Matthew. It's terribly important. My job and my task and my purpose down there wasn't to touch a thing, wasn't to touch anything. It was to observe, examine, observe, measure, understand the system, understand the differences down there, understand what it was about, where it came from, get into the minds of those who worked down there. Perhaps in a previous, I was one of the people who used the darn place, going back through the centuries and the eons, because I am a believer and understander of that you can't die for the life of you. We have continuation. That this life, this physical life, is just a preparation for the next, and it's a learning. It's like a classroom, and my purpose in there wasn't to touch anything at all. Though I saw many valuable things, I saw gold objects. But most of all, I understood things. I gained the knowledge of how it worked. I captured the illustrations that were on the walls, some of them at least, but they were by the hundred to the thousand, that were invisible, almost invisible to the naked eye. But I
Mm-hmm.
found through the camera when I got home and did the digital analysis on these, I was able to peel back the years that concealed them, and as people saw from today on Facebook, I put another 100, maybe 180 pictures on there. The medium disappointed me tremendously because when I put them up on my screen, they're crisp and sharp on the screen on my laptop, um, and even reproduced, I find on a laptop, they degrade from what they are originally. And remember, I might have worked on a single frame for some hours to get it to
Hours.
the
Me and
yes
Trevor,
hours.
me and bro Trev were talking about this last night.
Yeah,
Hours? No, days.
yeah,
Days. We've
to get
got.
an optimum
Uh,
result. Yes,
I have gotten pictures from this man that he's shown me what he sees. I'm going, I can't see it, brother Richard. And he's like, give me a minute. That minute turns into hours, and hours turn into days. And then
yeah.
finally, you're like, oh my God. That's in. He says yes. So continue. He's just see things
Yeah, that's
we
it.
don't see.
Not to start with, no, that's right. I mean, for some reason, I'm able to these illustrations. I can't say truly, honestly, how the heck they're laid to the surfaces, how they were laid to the surfaces, because some of these, although they're degraded from millennia of time and detritus, dust and muck and everything, um, yeah, that granted. Even so, you can see that it's almost like a photogenic process that some of them have been laid to the surface because although a lot of them are crude representations, some of them are have got such detail in them. It's emotional, but nonetheless, they were able to do it, and they laid them through there. And I found I was able to look at the surfaces. The thing is, you see, if people go out for a walk where there are caves and rocks and cliffs and so on, and they look at the rock surface, people see rock. Why
Right.
wouldn't they?
Right.
You look at rock, you see rock. Your brain isn't programmed to think differently. But um, when your brain is
Just see
open
things.
to it, and it's for anybody and everybody, um, if you're deprogrammed to stop looking just at the surface, but just like with the magic uh, computer generated magic pictures, if you are able to defocus your eyes a little and allow them to wander in and out of a focal depth, to change your focal depth from the surface of the rock
Mm-hmm.
into the rock, pull it backwards and forwards as a matter of habit, as a matter of normal course, then you find that if there are anomalies there, I say anomalies, no, so anomalies to the natural rock, your eyes will pick up that there's something not quite right there, something different. Now, down in NC2, the difference is that there are rakings on the surface. Now, the immediate instinct is to say, oh, those rakings are tool marks from when they dug these things out or formed them. But there are natural rock surfaces down there as well. And they're anomalous. You look at them, or I did, I looked at them and I thought, there's something not right here. And I took that home with me from the first couple of trips. And that's what really drove me to the computer and be a bit silly and obsessive to examine the pictures. All of them I took at high definition, at least, some at ultra high definition. So I'm on the computer and I'm playing around with it. And that first day, I remember, I mean, I've marked it up and shown it to people, the picture of that guy that looks like a gypsy with sort of fuzzy curly hair, and he's got a bandolier, like a ammunition bandolier around his neck, and he's on this rock surface. Now, that one there is um, uh, close to the start of where the tunnel system goes deep into the underground. In fact, it's just by where what I call the first reception chamber leads to the second reception chamber. There are originally two entrances there. The authorities have smashed those a bit. I think there's one single one that's partially negotiable, but in there anyway, a pitch dark rock surface took this. Now I know now that the rock that guy is on is clearly represented.
Richard, while you're talking, let me pull up the picture of Northcliffe too. Okay, as you're describing this, I know it. Trevor knows it. Our colleagues understand what you're saying, but just to clarify things, let me share it with everybody exactly what Richard's trying to convey to you. So, and without seeing it for yourself, you're not actually able to. You're not actually.
But I know what you're going to show. That picture, Matthew, I've got to say to people, if you're able to see it on the screen, that picture is actually a work picture. You can look at the slight color differences on there and actually see the illustrations. The actual outside surface of NC2 was highly decorated and illustrated at one time. And you can still see from that picture that I've done some working on the different shadings of the color, and you can actually pick the figures out. I hope others can as well. I don't know whether the medium that you're reproducing it here with, Matthew, actually shows it, or whether others can pick it up, but I promise you they are there.
Richard, I'm just showing the map. I'm just literally showing the sealed schematic of NC2 front end.
Right.
Okay, that's the one I'm showing.
Well, yes. While you've got that on the screen, Matthew, then, if everybody can hold in their head what I've just been saying about the actual front entrance, perhaps while you've got that on the screen, I could just mention about that. I spent a separate trip in there, and I was in there for practically a day and a bit as well. And I went in with all that I needed to do measurement, and I examined and measured all the chambers. Although I'm not showing them there, and I haven't actually published them. I've got breakdown illustrations and descriptions from each chamber as it was then, every single individual chamber. But I did the overall schematic for the entrance, because when you walk in there, as I was saying a little time before, you walk into a straight corridor that leads to, on one side, a slightly elevated chamber at the end. On the right-hand side, though, where it steps up at the end of the corridor, is a crack in the wall there, an artificial crack, which leads into what I call the first reception chamber that in due course leads down into the tunnel system going down underground. Now, if you sort of retreat from where I've just described, walk back out to the entranceway, then right hand and left hand are those little stairs that go down and lead to a system of chambers either side. The one on the right-hand side is particularly important because the corridor, as it leads along, it sort of curves like a banana off to the right. Now that's significant because at the end of that, there's also a step up. It goes to nothing else except a step up and the chambers leading off it behind you. The reason it's significant is because as it bends off to the right and has a step up, in that point, if you could go up through the ceiling of that corridor, go up and up and up and up through, you would actually find yourself in the center of that reception chamber that I mentioned a minute ago that leads down under the plateau. And you would also find that where you were standing at the end of that banana-shaped corridor at the bottom, as you rose up through the ceiling and you found yourself in the reception chamber, there in front of you would be the entrance continuing on to go down into the plateau. The corridor at the bottom, the bent one, lines up with the actual one up above. And guess what? At the end of that bottom banana-shaped corridor, if a photograph, a high-definition photograph of that area, when it is analyzed and checked, you find that the techniques they used for capturing imagery in that area have produced a three-dimensional photograph which to all intents and purposes appears as a continuation of that dead-end corridor. It looks as though the corridor is continuing on in the photograph. So it's a representation of the real one up above, and it imitates it in photographic value. Now, I don't know whether or not there is something behind there. I have received evidence back from the damage that the rape teams from the authorities have done in there, that they have revealed that there is actually a continuation beyond the end wall of that bent corridor. So there is a relationship between the levels, and that schematic is what gave me the evidence by measurement to validate the fact that there was a deliberate relationship between them. The reception chamber, for instance, that I've just mentioned, within the second reception chamber that now has been damaged to make it hard for anybody to sort of figure it out. Within that, there are tunnels, or there were now, they probably blocked them up. There were tunnels there that lead back through the ceiling levels and that drop down into the sub chambers that I talked about a minute ago. And those sub chambers where the sarcophagus and other things were taken by the rape teams of the authorities, they were hidden at the back of those chambers, 30-foot long chambers, by like a sleeper wall, very thin sleeper wall, floor to ceiling. Now, those sleeper walls have been smashed down, and the sarcophagi are gone, and whatever artifacts may have been there with them are all gone. So there's a relationship between it all. But you see, what I'm trying to get to now with this sort of motor-mouthed elaboration is that nothing in there is by accident. Everything has a relation to everything. The walls are covered with illustration. The reception chamber, which I haven't really spoken about per se, inside itself was tremendously important as a sort of initiation, or in my view, preparation place for those going down deep into the plateau to the alleged city below ground. Well, not saying alleged because it's been GPR'd. It's a definite. There is a city below ground there, and one at the same time an ancient repository of technology as it was then to rival ours, which would be a reason for the authorities to bump people off if they got too damn close, which is what's happened.
Wait. What do you? Okay, you and I know that is what's happened. We know that that's what's happened, but can you touch on that a little bit because right now there's a lot of and again, me and Trev was talking about this last night. I got to say this, and we were trying to correct the invalid misinformation, disinformation campaign stories that are coming out all over the internet. Okay, and again, I've got to say that our main page reaches between 4 and 6 million people. Okay, and that has been stopped at the moment. Okay, so pay very close attention to what Brother Richard's going to say. Okay, because the Egyptian authorities, I'll say this. Okay, the Egyptian authorities have the powers of antiquity. I'll even go as far as to say governments of Egypt have got blood on their hands. Okay? They absolutely do. Now, I don't know how correcting you can get into what misinformation was released. Okay? However, can you please do these people some justice and tell the true story?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I have to say that the full account of the major story that I'll share again here now, I published the detail of that very shortly after it actually happened. And we're going back several years, we're going back to 2009. And I mentioned before that I've lived in the village, I've lived with the villagers, and they're beautiful people. Wonderful people, oppressed people, suppressed people who live on a few dollars a day. But their attitude and everything, they're very, very good people. And, they're criticized, and it's annoying also to be what we call a tourist chicken, and chickens are plucked. But then it's a case of that's the way of life in order to live. So, tourists are relied upon and they're harassed a bit, to try and get a few dollars back from. But they live simply in the village, but they're wonderful people. And they supplement their income. They live on a heritage. And I can go back to so many friends on the plateau who described their childhoods there when there was no great wall surrounding the Giza Plateau. You know, that wall that was put there ostensibly to protect. No, it wasn't. It was there to possess.
Say that. No, say that again, Richard. Say that
The
again.
great, the great wall around the plateau that Zahi presided to have done. It was, say, ostensibly, it was the reason was given, you know, that it was to protect the plateau, protect the heritage, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't. It was to possess it, because before the wall was ever even conceived, the people of the plateau, the people of the village Nazlet El Saman, um, they considered the plateau their backyard. They went there. I mean, I'm quoting now word for word. You know, we went for picnics there. It was our place. Weekends, we picnicked there before the tourism came like it is today, and we guarded. We looked after the place, and um, it was in our interest because it was our backyard.
That's
And
right.
sure, yes, we used to get a few things from the ground and so on, but you know that's par for the course because anywhere in Egypt you can do the same. Anywhere, you know, you'll find something that somebody likes
You just
to
said
make.
it. They're good people. They're good people. They wish to share. They wish to help.
Yes, that's right.
Right.
Absolutely, 100%. Very, and they would give you a last if you were crippled or hurt or anything. They would do anything, anything at all. They give their lives themselves for you as a stranger. Um, I recall in Afghanistan and other places of that area. You know, in fact, the film, the or what was it, the Last Man Standing or something, where it was brought up in there. You know, they got this expression Pashtunwala, you know, where they have to regard it, even if it's their enemy, they have to help someone if they're in trouble, and they do. And you know, my life was saved specifically at the point where I could have been killed twice by someone, a wonderful, wonderful person there. Oh, I can come to those stories as well. I don't want to digress too much, but it's so difficult to not wander off a little bit. Anyway, let's go back to what I was saying. So the plateau, yes, they looked after it, um, and you know there were tunnels and things that they had access to then. Where as kids they went exploring, they went underground. There were lateral tunnels that allowed them to go to great depths that now you could only reach by using ropes and heavy equipment to get down into. But as kids, then they went underground and they were aware of the fabulous nature of what was down there. You know, we talk about now and speculate about there being a city. For goodness sake, you know, at the Solar Cross there were lateral. I mean, I've had them described specifically to me. You know, there were lateral tunnels that they could go down through from the buildings as they were first being built there, and they could get down into these areas where there are these fabulous rooms and paintings and objects and so forth. And you know, they lament the fact that some of their friends, there were occasions of their friends who went in there and were lost completely, accepting that. And I mean, I know Trevor picked up on one story where one young person, got lost and was thought, as others had been, to be lost forever. But found his way out some 15 miles away and followed the network of tunnels out from Giza Plateau at Hawara, or wherever it was that he popped up again. Miraculously, he'd found his way out. So that was the picture of the plateau at one time. Then along came the authorities being more and more authoritative, and the hierarchy of the black market solidified, so that you know at the bottom level the trinkets and things would bring a few bucks, but anything bigger would go up the chain through the various levels of authority, police and others, till that eventually it worked to the top. If anything of major description or large description was found, then it would be made to disappear by the people in charge
Mm-hmm.
completely. And that's the way the system worked and still works. So, you know, this thing about you don't overstep the mark, you keep to the script, and then you're okay. And everybody's palm is greased, and you've got a whole economy that's built on black market. But for the ones at the bottom, it's a matter of life and death, daily being able to live with their animals if they're allowed to keep them. And in the village where I lived, as I say, there was a group of lads that we got so friendly with, and they were wonderful and took us and showed us and things, just mind blowing things down underground and so on. Many of those things that we haven't even shared, we haven't told others about, but it doesn't make them any less real. And it happened that where we were staying, it was right next to house number 13. In fact, the entry to the house that we were on, which is very close to the corner of the village that looks down on a very, very short distance away. You could almost throw a stone in the distance I'm talking, to where the Sphinx enclosure is, the Sphinx temple and the Sphinx. And there was a ramp in the earth almost alongside the wall, the Great Wall, that lead down to the door areas of the house and the family that we stayed with. It was quite amusing, actually, because when you went in there, the furniture and everything had been pulled from the walls. Very, very third world, I have to say. Very basic. But the furniture had all been pulled from the walls. So you were sat more huddled to the center of the largest room, which is the living room. The reason being that all around the walls, which was our first encounter with, oh my God, look at this.
Right.
Soil built up about 4 foot high up against the wall, all around the walls. Of course, that soil came from what they called safaris. That's the name, the colloquial name that they use. A little safari is a little dig in the ground locally under the house or somewhere, digging and trying to find a few artifacts or something to sell to tourists. So we knew, obviously, that somewhere within the building itself, that we didn't know at the time where, it's all clear now, that there was a safari going on. We'd been told about it, described and everything. It was going down. They come right next to the line of the wall. They come across a stone, very solid stone plug, which was blocking some steps. They knew that the steps continued the other side, because as they tried to sort of soften the sides of the rock with water to make it easier to get past, they could actually hear the water sort of dripping and splashing down the steps on the other side of this plug. Now that particular tunnel that was being built, being dug, beyond where that doorway is, it then traveled underneath the direction of the ramp that led down to the doors of the house, but didn't travel so far as to get beyond the side wall of house number 13, which is next to us. I'm allowed, I should say myself personally, I'm allowed to draw some significance also with a smile to the fact it was house number 13, because 13 has followed me all through my life. I was actually born, recorded, as they say in Scotland, I was born in a coal. But I was born 13th minute, 13th hour, Friday, 13th of October. So I was all the 13th from the strangest of the birth. I was, if that's the only claim to fame, then okay, it's an amusing one. But the 13s have followed me all the way through, and there it is, house number 13. So these guys that had been helping us, they actually were staying in house number 13. 13 was almost like a guest house. It had different rooms in there that were taken up by the different guys, these young chaps. And I remember one of the last occasions when I met with the group of them, and there was a bit of a push and pull, because we had come and I was armed naively with tons of paperwork I brought with me, evidence with maps and God knows what and all sorts of things, and they looked over my shoulder to this in the room with glee, and they were begging me. One was asking, another one trying to confuse me. Um, can I take, I will get a copy and bring back. They wanted, they wanted their hands on what I got because to them it was valuable because it was showing places of interest in the village and how to get at things, how to go about digging certain methods for digging and getting at stuff, shafts and so on. Anyway, I managed to keep my hands on those things because I needed them myself. It was my research that I'd taken with me, not just for the village, but beyond. And I excused it under the fact, look, I'm going to be coming back. Next time I bring copies for you all, leave it with me. And I convinced them, and I managed to keep my stuff there on that trip. But in any event, there we all were, these guys, and they'd shown us all these places all up along the wall. And that was all fantastic. And also, we've been taken over to Old Cairo. There's something I've never told anybody about before. We were taken to a safari over there, where we went into this house near one of the big mosques over there, where where literally the bottom floor of a house had been opened up and the soil taken and put in other places. The actual entrance into it was disguised with this huge wardrobe. It's almost like in a wartime thing. And I found myself smiling at the time. It was crazy. There was a big curtain across the wall and a wardrobe closet, as they say in America, against this wall. And it had to get a couple of men either side to move this darn thing. That was moved to one side so the curtain be opened. And what you found in there wasn't a floor anymore. There was barely any walls in the small side rooms because the entire floor had been opened up. And there was photographs and everything of this. I haven't shown them openly, but I can do now that I'm speaking about it.
Now remember, guys, this is someone's house. This is this is someone's house that he's talking about.
Yeah, this isn't the Giza Plateau. This is over at Old Cairo. And this hole. I mean, it was like a bomb crater. I mean, it was enormous. The whole thing just plummeted down irregularly down. You couldn't see the bottom because it curved and turned out of sight.
Wow.
We did manage to get down a little ways and got photographs down there. My camera was taken down and faithfully snapped tick, 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 all the way down through. And what they'd done was they got down to a depth where they reached not just foundation level, but early construction level of old mosques or religious buildings that had been on that site that had long since been built over to the depth of multi-feet higher. The actual street level was way higher than the depth that they were down to now. And I've got a last photograph there where they've broken through some wooden palisades down at that level, and they were extracting stuff from these ancient buildings way down at this level over there. So I digress. That's over. We were taken over there by the guys. So okay then. Unknown to us, and I can only report this as something that was reported to us, so it's hearsay. You can take it as you want. I take it for fact, but I'll give you what I have. We were led to understand later that what had happened was that money had come in from a world organization who operates in the area. That's where I got to tread carefully.
I understand. You be careful.
And that big money, a big safari was organized. And what they did was they recruited our friends, the guys who lived in the guest house at number 13, and they were going to they paid enough money, the money was there. They were going to use 13 because it had a big living room area. We're going to go down inside that. They were going to use the floor area to do a big excavation. Because they were aware of, not just me, because I hadn't really tied up fully with Bill yet, Bill Brown. We knew of each other, but we haven't sort of cemented the liaison and to work together for the ensuing years. But I was unaware that William Bill his story was about to interact with ours. About two, I think, let's see now, there was a little alleyway, very, very narrow alleyway beyond that, and then one house block, and then there was a stable, and we're literally on one more to go, and we're onto the corner of that section of the village where it overlooks the Sphinx area. So Bill had his stable there, and he's got a wonderful story there to elaborate, which he has done and will do. And I'm not going to take all of it away from him at all. But Bill had had course to come into the possession of ground penetrating radar surveys of that area. And I was actually, the building that he stayed in, there was partly his, that arose from when he was part of the management of the Hawara project to dig out at Hawara. They used the upper apartment of one of the most important dons of the village and leaders, dons, and a wonderful, wonderful family. And it came that we had a liaison together as a result of that, where we actually successively stayed at that apartment also, sometimes with Bill there. Now, Bill had accessed ground penetrating radar surveys, and I was actually there when he got the results back from America on this one that was signed. It was brought back by courier because it was so important. And it showed that underground there was gold deposits of the purest form that the equipment could record. And these results, incidentally, came back from the manufacturers in America, or the suppliers of the equipment in America, to do the analysis on them. They were so crazily important. But the other main thing was that the results picked up a bunker below ground. And the bunker seemed to be sealed. They were able to pick up the outline of the bunker, not from externally, more from internally, because the internal lines of the walls were showing a trace of radioactivity, which outlined it almost in cartoon shape. But they were able to see that this was a bunker, a small bunker building. And within this bunker building, there was just one item, one object, which took the form of, and I can flow with the description now, but it wasn't that simple. But they were able to extract the description I'm going to give you now. There was an item in the middle of the floor that looked, to all intents and purposes, about the size and shape of an attaché case. Now, the case, it comprised of two metal plates, top and bottom. Those metal plates showed up on the equipment as being also of purest gold. So there were two attaché-sized plates of gold. The top one had marks thinning on it that inscribed, that showed that there was some form of writing or inscription on the top plate, because in where the inscription was laid into it, or is laid into it, the thinning of the metal as a result of that allowed this, what was between those two plates, which was described as some form of plasma material. There were no wires or any other attachments at all. Two metal plates, some form of plasma material between them. And that plasma material was emitting some form of radiation, which showed through the thinning part of the top plate, which gave rise to an interpretation that there was something inscribed. This is a very great depth, very great depth. Now, we've heard since, over the years, we actually heard of two other locations, not crazily distant, that were throwing up similar results. So what is it? You know, I mean, it just at the moment you leave it out to speculation. I mean, sure as heck is some kind of advanced equipment, what, some kind of advancement to what we understand today. And there it is stuck way underground. Now, the gold part of it pricked everyone's ears up because there was also the stories that were more than just stories. I know that Bill's research, he'll talk more about this, shows that there are rumors of Nazi wartime gold being buried at some depth. That was the one thing that sort of pricked up that was known about anyway. Say, hey, hang on a minute. We got this story. We know, we believe that it's been told that Nazi gold. There's this huge pot of gold down in there in a couple of places. Wow. And so it was. But these are underneath like religious houses now. It's all been built over, and so that's a background. Okay. So back now to the story of the guys being recruited. So we were there, and we went home. We were due to return again. We'd made arrangements that we're going to come back pretty quick anyway. But in the meantime, very soon after that, these guys, they thought that they'd been recruited to go down to what they knew, that there was some chambers down there. And it was like a lucky dip, you didn't know whether there'd be anything in them or not. They'd get down through with a high expectation that they were going to get some things that they could perhaps make a few bucks from. And if not, the items would pass up the food chain, the black market food chain. They wouldn't miss out. They'd still make something from it. And occasionally somebody would become a millionaire overnight if they were clever enough and managed to escape with a nice gold something or other. So they thought that they'd been recruited, and hey, this is going to be our payday. Money's behind it. We're in the place. We live in the place. We're going to go down through the floor, and we're going to make something out of the ground here. Wonderful. But you see, what they didn't know was, and this is our understanding now, that money from a world organization sifted from that came from hands and minds of people who knew that there was some wonderful, useful, strange technology that was lingering underground there. So the idea was, as we understand it, these villagers, these guys, tunnelers, tunnel rats, were recruited knowing that they could do the job, but off the backs of them digging down through, that there would be access gained to what Bill's equipment had given a hint of. And, the whole idea clearly was, with this hidden agenda for them, through the authorities of that side of the village, with their help, to get down to this, access it sort of through the back door. Oh my God, for that to happen without the people in the food chain knowing about it, that would have been like an atomic bomb going off as soon as people found out. Exactly almost what happened. Because our understanding of the story is that there they are, they're digging down. They did get to the next levels, and they did find that there were gold statuettes and other things in there. And guess what? They also found in that level that there was a sarcophagus also, painted walls and a sarcophagus. And that sarcophagus had a beautiful female face. And it was adorned with little squares, tessellated mosaic squares, as part of its decoration pattern. Beautiful, beautiful, of an apparent ceramic material. 3 toes on the feet. Beautifully decorated.
I'm showing her now, Brother Richard.
Okay, good. With the big eyes. So this is what they got to. In the meantime, the guys themselves decided, hey, look at all this stuff down here. This is going to go up the chain. You can see it, the logic, the mindset. We'll be lucky to get anything out of this. This is big, we're going to be lucky if we don't get burned out of it. So a couple of them decided that they would lay in an insurance policy for themselves. They were a bit naive because, okay, they might be good at digging on the plateau, but they weren't up in the circles up the food chain that would fence larger items. But in their naivety, a couple of them took one of the gold statuettes off to Sharm el Sheikh to try and load it into the black market there. Well, it sort of rang alarm bells, and people latched onto the police latched onto it, into them. They didn't crash them straight away. They didn't burn them straight away, but they followed them back, and established what was happening where. They were onto it, very quickly. But again, they didn't sort of crash the whole thing there and then. They laid their plans, and my understanding is that one of those guys that went off with the gold, he was nabbed and interrogated and made to talk, and they learnt all the inside stuff of all this. My understanding is, and forgive me if I use, I don't know. Forgive me the way I tell this, all right?
All right.
Because I've got to be protective. The big man in charge believed that the diggers, the villagers, that they were in on the whole thing, that they knew what was happening. They weren't just digging, they actually knew what the hell was going on. They knew that they thought that they were digging, yes, to get down to what they'd found, but of course they were all in on the fact that the prize wasn't that. It was even deeper. It was something much more valuable. And they didn't know. They only knew what they knew. They hadn't been taken in on it. They were hapless. They were being used. But they were happy to be used, I suppose, because, they were going to get something out of it.
Your black market reward. I mean, they knew. Of course, they knew.
So what happened was they waited for a day or two for all of them under surveillance. They figured at a time when all of them were down underground, including one man in a suit. He was the accountant for that area of the village, part of the family, brother of one of the leaders of that area. Again, I'm choosing words carefully.
It's all right. Just take your time.
And he was down there at the time. Anyway, they brought in. They'd obviously geared up for it. They brought in on site. There's a road leading to that, by the way. Yeah, it's awkward as it was then, but you could get in, because at one time we made our escape from there one time ourselves. That's a different story altogether. Where I was shown a gun in the taxi as well. Shut your mouth or else. That's a separate one. I haven't really told much to anybody about that. But a taxi on that occasion, taxi managed to back in for us to. It was arranged. Somebody else did an extraction on us, for us, and pulled us out for our own safety on one occasion. Separate story. I haven't been told anywhere. But we were pulled out, extracted, and. But prior to that, we were at the point of a gun again. So vehicles have been backed in by the police. There's an ambulance, in particular. There's a police car, police vehicles, and there's a JCB. A backhoe they call them, digger, one of those big ones, big mechanical digger. They were brought in at the same time as they were going to pounce. So what they did first was, clearly down below, they would have realized that something was happening up above. You can just picture all this. Because they're not down a huge depth, you're talking about, a floor depth, 1-2 floors depth. So you're perhaps talking sort of 6 to 20 feet, maybe, 12, average distance, 12 feet, into the rooms that they were in. And they would have figured and just gone quiet. You could have just picture it, they would have gone silent below ground. What the hell's going on up there? And what was going on was that the police en masse were clearing out all the surrounding villages. There was over 20 families who just got rid of, out, go. The house that we stayed in, Sabers, now he was Jack the lad of the area. Everybody loved him. He was, the go-to guy. He could get anything, do anything. Everybody knew him. He could fix anything, and he was our sort of gopher and our helper and our family man. We helped him and his family, and he thought on his feet. And what he did was something quite crafty and clever. He knew some of the guys that were there, the police that had come, and he acted all innocent and silly, even though he was from the house next door. And he said, "I'll be a gopher. Over there, Sacramento. You got to have access to somewhere to make tea. Tea's made all the time, no matter what happens, where. It's fine tea being made. And get a cup of tea boiled up." And he offered to be their gopher, their tea man, food man, anything man, while they were there. He acted silly, acted dumb, he acted the fool, but managed to place himself in that position. So he was first-hand witness to everything going on. And he was our guy, what happened was, according to him, he said, this thing, they couldn't get him to come up. They couldn't get him out of the ground. They wouldn't come out. So that night, the big man was there. And they tried to get them up. They wouldn't come up, obviously. They were scared witless. And all sorts of threats and things were made, and so on, promises, but they couldn't shift them. So it went into the night. And this was described to us because we were back there very soon after all this happened. So it was as close as, damn it, to, and in the emotional way it was told to us. I mean, Saba gave us the nuts and bolts of everything. It was clearly as it happened, it was secondhand, so you would have to say it was hearsay, but we took it. It was how it happened. And he said, in the middle of the night, he said, all people in the area were sort of rattled or disturbed by the fact it sounded like several car doors slamming hard suddenly in the middle of the night. Of course, it's quiet in the night, in the middle of the night. And what had happened, it was reported to us that what happened was that because they weren't complying, those on the surface in charge lost their rag and said enough's enough, and they dropped some hand grenades down the hole, down the shaft. Bang, 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 bang. And didn't kill all the guys, but certainly did some killing on that first wave. And immediately what they did was they got the digger and they shoved some earth over to sort of block the hole off. But the ground was thin enough in the places there for them still to actually call down and establish that there were one or more of the guys still alive. But they weren't shifting. They would refuse to come. They were still, they thought quite rightly, that their lives would be forfeit as well. So it went on for 4 days, we were told. 4 days. In fact, the brother of one of the guys, it was relayed to him, he lived a little way away, that there'd been a collapse because the police sort of held back. He came to the site, was prevented from digging down. He wouldn't have got anywhere anyway to get to his brother. And that's in the fresher account that you read of this, that I've put out. And 4 days went on with visits in between from the big man, whom it was reported to us he was shouting at the top of his voice and able to be heard above and below through the ground, the short distance it was. And they still wouldn't yield because they were convinced that they were going to be killed. Well, eventually they suffocated out down there. It took 4 days for no more sounds to be heard. And
Damn.
they brought the digger across, and somebody said it was about an hour it took them to get down to the confluence of tunnels down there. And they got all the stuff with them they needed, like large timbers to shore this so-called rescue shaft, shore it up. So they sunk these down, and did some crisscross timbers to make it relatively safe. It was like you could see it like ship's timbers, crisscrossed as they went down through this thing. It wasn't hugely sophisticated, but there was a fair-sized hole there that they dug next to where the original shaft had been. And to do this, they had to knock the side of the building down, number 13, house 13. They were the ones that dug that away to get at the internals and sink this their rescue shaft. So when they accessed it, the account continued to say that they didn't immediately go down and recover what was left of the guys, parts, the bodies. No. Instead, they went into the chambers and they recovered especially the sarcophagus.
What you're looking at right now.
Uh-huh.
Right, what you're looking at right now.
And what they did was they wrote this very crudely because it was confined. They'd got a crude shaft there to bring it up. So he described it. He was actually describing it. He saw it happen. He said, the ropes and that, and they pulled and they put a bit of timber across there as a windlass, and this thing came up upright, but it was being knocked and damaged. He said when they brought it up onto the surface, said some of these little tiles, he said, were broken from the surface of this sarcophagus. And the sarcophagus was put in feet first into the ambulance. It was there for the guys.
Now, who was remember, I want to point this out, everybody. We've got a disaster. Okay, we've got a disaster on a section of the plateau, which is not really the plateau. Okay, this is the home of a worker, just a random worker, right? I'm not going to say names. I'm not going to whatever. Just workers, an average home. Okay, not a plateau work, not a. I don't even think it was a permitted project. Was it, Brother Richard? It was not, right? Okay, so we know what we know is it was a private home, private property, off the plateau, off the beaten path. We dug through the dirt, and this is the rest of the story. And again, what we're presenting to you, okay, is again what the world has never seen, because it literally has never seen her.
That's right, yes. Oh, incidentally, I will say, Matthew, now, I mean, as I'm talking with you now, what I will do, I'll follow up with this, and the amount of photographs I've got, and you'll see in a minute because I'm going to elaborate that as well, and I'll share these out. I might as well release them. Some have come out over the years. I did publish a few earlier, but I'll really go to town. I've got so much evidence. So I'll continue, and you'll realize from what I described that I clearly come away with a bag full of insurance policy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this, and me and some other media team, other investigative journalists, we're doing this the best we can possibly do it, because right now our teams of people, their lives are on the line. So we got to be really careful with what we say. But however, those who have ears to hear, let them hear, because this shit needs to come out right now, and literally just canvas the internet, canvas the media, because these are the things that are really, really important. And it's people like Richard and other people on the plateau. Again, good friends, William Brown, our co-partner / Trevor, investigative journalist Trevor Grassi. The list goes on. The exclusive. These things need out.
Yes, absolutely they do. I mean, it's been all these years, and you'll see how gritty it becomes as I just sort of complete the account as far as I'm able to.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, then we're at the stage now. The sarcophagus is now in the back of the ambulance, and I'm going to describe this with a little bit of detail because it was described to us. I'm going to say firsthand. We weren't there, but it was so close to firsthand. The emotions were raw. When something is described to you with emotional, if I put it this way, with emotional abandonment, the person in front of you, unless they're an Oscar actor, this isn't made up. The person is giving it to you raw,
Mm-hmm.
so raw that it's affecting you. Now, it was being described to us that the sarcophagus was put on a cloth, whatever, a cloth was put over it, and the um, I have to be careful here. A chief was there. A chief. Let's just stop at that. A chief was there, sitting alongside this on the ambulance before anything further happened. The chief lifted the cloth away. I'm describing this as if I saw it, but I'm not. I'm describing it so exact because he gave it to us so exact. Lifted the cloth away. He said, and the man went into floods of tears because of the enormity of what he was sitting beside and the implication of what it was. And he was overcome with emotion. And as it was being told to us, the man telling it to us was overcome with an observer's emotion. So it was covered, and the ambulance took it away and disappeared into the blue yonder where everything disappears to. Then the JCB came. No, we're down into the hole now. The JCB came and cleared the thing, opened the ground, and they got the sarcophagus first. What they then arranged for was a guy who was described as a shaman, local shaman, who came with a goat, and on the basis that bad spirits were being generated by what was going on there. This is the basis of the story. The goat had been brought to perform a ceremony to appease the jinn, the spirits. And the goat was sacrificed over that shaft, the rescue shaft. And the goat's blood was allowed to spill down into the bottom of the shaft. Now, of course, I think we can reasonably and fairly speculate that that was done to disguise the gore that was at the bottom, the blood and the gore. So they recovered the bodies and did what they were doing down there, got rid of whatever artifacts or anything else was down there. Bear in mind that from the house that we stayed in next door, that there was an underground shaft leading from there that was concealed in an almost concealed room, very narrow room. The soil from that was what we had around the living room. That shaft, the intention had been for that shaft to join in a more secretive way to the underground chambers that were common knowledge among villagers by then. And what happened at a later stage was, we understand that when it was all crudely backfilled after they took what they wanted or done what they did, they crudely backfilled it. In fact, they looked like they'd used a couple of farm gates or something. There was railings or something put across the front. They hadn't even got security up yet. And those gates weren't there, by the way, when we got there. They hadn't even got to that stage.
Jeez.
But what they did was they came back to start working again getting down into it all again to do further investigation, clearing, searching, or so on, even digging for all we know. They did it by completing the shaft, not shaft, completing the tunnel that ran underneath the ramp to the next door house that we stayed in, and made access, gave themselves access from there instead. So it wasn't visible anymore. They could come and go completely invisible. But when we made our arrangements to get back there instantly, and we were back over there as quick as a flash, very, very, very soon afterwards. And there were no security things in place. They just put it back, relying on the fact that the villagers would be too scared to really come near it, go anywhere near it. Well, up to a point, that's true. But the kids, of course, you know, you don't keep kids away. They're brave and brazen, and they were running around and so on, you know, a bit wary because they've been told to keep away. Danger, 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 because people knew what had happened. Villagers knew. And when we got there, you know, there was a good number of kids sort of latched on. But we were taken by our guy, and we were taken to this shaft, which was still all open as it was, unguarded, and no security. But they were they were scared, you know. Like, you know, ooh, 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 be ready to run, be ready to go, you know. And they got spotters out. They had spotters out in case any word comes up. We got to, we know which way we're going. We knew the routes there, in and out of the village, the back ways. So all I had on my mind was I had my camera, and I wasn't alone. But to what I had to do, I know I was alone. My actions would be lone actions. So, I mean, I had it in my head exactly what I was going to do if I had access, because I had already a mind map of everything from our friend. And it was as he said. And so I just made a beeline, and it went to the edge of the shaft. Before he had a chance to say much of anything, I climbed over and started climbing down. He went mental on the top, you know, and the other kids and that was, they thought it was terrible. It's okay, I'm going. So I just went straight down to the bottom, and hands and knees, and I was clicking away, click, 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 click. Photograph. One or two immediate observations. The one main shaft there that lead across to the wall, um, chamber rather. It was clear that they'd had soil, sand and soil down into the shaft, and they crudely tried to backfill, push that back in, to block it in a bit, as if it was less work than it actually had been. It had obviously been cleaned out at one time. It was clean. But now they were sort of trying to reverse that. But it had clearly been such a big task to do that it was like abandoned. They tried it and abandoned it. So I could see across to where this stone plug was on another wall entry through the wall to the other side, but blocked. There was drill holes in it as well. You could see where they drilled to see through, peer through.
Richard, I got to pause you for a second, just a second. Myself and Trevor are trying to work together to get these images for illustration. Now, I'm talking, you know, there's people in the chat asking for, do we have an illustration of the map or of the area, yada, yada, yada. I didn't quite think we didn't, and I do now remember you gave them to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I even told Trev, at this moment, I can't search for them on my machine because I've got you here. There's too much going on, but however, if Trev sends me them via messenger, I will gladly share them. I apologize. Continue.
Yeah, sure. And as I say, I can follow up now. You know, I'll break ground with the galleries of pictures that I have to do with this that others haven't seen anyway. Seen a lot, but there are some that I haven't.
Right. So no big deal,
okay.
man.
So now I'm down there. One thing I will say, actually, just as an anecdotal thing, going back to seeing hidden illustrations, ancient illustrations, down there on the rock surface, the natural rock surface that had been broken through down below. I picked up with the naked eye shapes and things. I thought, that's got illustrations on it, which since then I have analysed and found that there are illustrations down there that go back to an ancient time. That's by the by. Okay, jump back to the
All
story
right,
now.
I apologize for derailing you. This is why I don't interrupt him. Sorry.
Okay, just throw that out,
All right.
time. I can show those pictures as well. So anyway, I'm down there on my hands and knees there. And I mean, I'm emotionally, I mean, I'm overcome myself by it all, the scene, because I can see that there's bloody clothes. It's gory. There's clothes mixed in with the soil and stuff down there. And I'm visualizing, I'm sort of flashing the images in my head of the horror of being down there and, being being caught by explosions. It must have been, I can't, I don't want to regenerate the vision of it all, but it must have been so horrific.
I understand what you're saying, but let me clarify for everybody and put a piece in there that you didn't drop. That prior night, okay, to I'll just say for whatever shits and giggles, the air quotes big guy, prior to any of this and bringing in the shaman, the fellows over there on that plateau heard a boom. They heard a detonation deep underground. Just to clarify and add that to the mix here, because we're below me. We're talking about the guys that actually heard these things, so and know what's going on. So again, the cavern, or I'm sorry, the corridor was blown shut. Okay, prior to the removal of this mummy and sarcophagi. All right, continue, Rich. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm just trying. I'm remembering little pieces here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and I'm going to say again, I put out on my Facebook page a couple of posts back. I reprinted. I gave I pointed to the article. I think I copy pasted. I think, or did I point to it? No, I think I gave the link to it again. The original. I'm transiting it at the moment with my web pages because my website, which was .info, richardgabriel.info, with one.com, because they changed their formatting and everything, it screwed me up. And for some years, I hadn't really been able to work on it. Just maintained it as it was, even though it was chocked to the brim of accounts and writings and so on. But through your good self, Matthew, and Wayne, your friend partner, with a private server, I'm now in the process of transferring all that material. There's a good amount of it already transferred across, but there's still mega terabytes of material still to go across. And what I did was I still, thanks to Wayne keeping a mirror copy of the original site, I was able to give out the link to the original account that was fresh in my mind at the time, that describes in far more detail everything that I'm repeating tonight. So forgive me if I veer slightly here and there.
All right.
Anybody go to my pages, just go back, troll back 2 or 3, and you'll find me mentioning about it and giving the link there to my old site where the original one can still be accessed. Okay, so that's that. So let's get back to the story then. So I'm down there now, and I'm taking pictures, and I'm picking up for myself, validating the story I've been told. There's bloody clothing down there, and it's foul. It stinks. If you've smelled stale blood, but it wasn't nice. So I'm now okay. I've done that, and I'm out of there again. I'm up on the surface, going wow, just bloody wow. So in fright, nearly all the kids now are scattered, gone, because they're expecting the sky to descend on them because I did what I did. But I'm there with our man, and I'm of a mind, saying to him, they're trying to pinpoint and trying to walk him through the operation of when the sarcophagus was brought up. And he's shown on the ground, here, and he was actually like reliving it for me. So I could see on the ground, sticking up from the ground, from where they crudely sort of pushed some of the earth and muck back to sort of level it out a little bit around the area. They hadn't yet filled that rescue shaft back in again, but they sort of roughly pushed stuff back around the area. And yeah, I could see that there was some bits of clothing there, from what they recovered, bloodied clothing. And I remarked to this, and it was feeling a horrible sadness, and he was spooked as well. But as we're scrabbling there, I go, oh, as I'm sort of you know scratching at the dirt, and to take a photograph. I wanted to take a photograph to show the clothing there. I realized that what I picked up in my hand was one of these little tessellated squares, this sort of pale bluish color, very, very pale bluish, almost greenish bluish color. And yes, that's what came from sarcophagus. So we scrabbled a lot more in there and found just a few more. Some of the ones that had been damaged from the surface. Figured at some stage, at some time in the future, they would be evidential. They could be, examined to determine what they were, where they, to see what could be learned from them. And let's just say I know where in a safe place one or two of these squares are now. They've never gone to any lab or anything, but I'm saying it just as another insurance validation for the description of the sarcophagus. So anyway, we came away from there, and in the long term, it was clear that the whole thing was going to be covered up. They put cameras up. They brought the house down even more. They backfilled into the hole. We knew that they were still working, but from the house we stayed in, they were getting in through the tunnel and the back door. And to all intents, you couldn't see anything of their activity from the front. And in the newspaper, the story was reported, but more emphasis was put on the fact that these men had been digging illegally. That was the story. Illegal men, brought to their own destruction because of it. The real sort of surrounding truth of it all was a suppressed backstory. There you go. It didn't achieve world status as a story as one might have expected. And I have to say, much the same as other stories that I have to be honest and say that we learned of anecdotally at a level, anybody, if we were sat being interrogated ourselves, we would have to say at a level of hearsay. But that accusation of hearsay doesn't take away what from your own experience, what your own conclusions are. And we have our own conclusions, which don't go as far as just saying it's hearsay. We believe from the veracity of the sources and the strength of the stories. We believe in what we've been told. Of the two Frenchmen that lost their lives, and the other guy up there now shown the plate on the ground, the steel plate got a shaft under it, and there's a body at the bottom of that. And then I nearly lost my life on one occasion in the same way. And all the circumstances of that weren't hearsay. They were bloody real. And, this isn't a joke. People have lost their lives because they got close to things below ground that are beyond the motivations of those who are behind these heinous things. They want to possess what they know is down there, and that is something of great advancement to what we know in today's world. These are of an order of technology that in its own way was beyond ours. And people say to me, what do you mean, what kind of technology? You know, we're in a nuclear age, we this, we that. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our age, our technology, it relies on fossil fuels, it relies on nuclear energy and so on, internal combustion engine and so forth. Back then, even if just the legend and rumor are to be believed, theirs was a time of advanced technology different from ours. They may well have been our ancestors. You know, I'm not even going to go to the alien side of things, which still may be real. But they lived by a technology that relied on the knowledge of and the control of earth energies, telluric energies, and ley lines commonly, the sun's energy being able to be split, the manufacture of crystalline forms to alloy stones in the legend, in the so-called Atlantean times, the Atlantean age, um, where they were able to separate out the frequencies of sound in order to levitate things, in order to communicate across distance. You know, and I mean, I love telling the anecdotal story once again of a friend in Australia who enlightened me in this direction when he hooked me up with one of the shaman over there, one of the old fellas over there, elders, who sort of took me under his wing to, to, to one way of saying it to some extent, um, because I demonstrated a knowledge and an interest in the hidden illustrations on rock surfaces, which of course are endemic over in Australia. And I wanted to ask questions of him through an intermediary to see if I could gain any further knowledge of their wherewithal. And I did gain knowledge from him, which was wonderful to get. In other words, that in an area over there, I was given to understand that in areas over there where there may be lots of rock surfaces over a large, large area that have illustrations on them to various degrees of fading into the background, or where they've been overpainted to renew them or freshen them. And that over a large area, be it a few hundred yards, be it a few miles in distance, that area um, would predominantly tell the ancestral story of the tribal group that occupied that area. You know, when a young chap went walkabout, they would go out to that area. They would learn their own heritage and be able to relate that when they came back. That was part of the test.
Hey,
That's
Richard,
yes,
we've got. I'm going to keep going. Okay, we are at an hour and 45 minutes down, but we're going to keep
right.
going as long as you've got steam. We're going to keep going. Okay,
Good. Okay, fine.
Mr. D. We haven't even gotten to your images yet. You've got 6 images yet that you sent me to present to
Yeah,
people.
yeah, that's right.
We haven't even gotten to that. But I've got a question from Mr. David Nash, right? He asks, can you please ask Mr. Gabriel about the solar cross?
Haha. Okay. Okay. Can I put that on park it just for a moment?
David, he's going to put that on pause for a moment. All right, keep
Just pause park for a moment, okay?
going. All right.
Okay then. Right. I got it in my head. Okay. It was on the agenda, but this is what I do. Sorry.
That's all right. Again, bro, I'm used to this.
I know, yeah. So just to tail end the story then about this Australian connection. So yes, I mean there is a big Australian connection and all sorts in our research, which would need a separate hour or two to pull out. Very, very important because it has direct links to Egypt and the Giza Plateau. But I'm not going to go there now. Just to say that with these connections, these telluric underground energies and so on, one thing that we know of, or I know of now from our Aboriginal friend over there, and that is that at certain times of the year, certain arranged times or known times of the year, they would go out to their sacred places, their grandfather tree or sacred rock. They go out alone, or for a very closeted group would go out, and It would be for them to meditate on the fact that that time of the year and the place where they're going to, the place itself would be a nodal point for the telluric energies of the earth, a focal point that in the UK we know by standing stones, for instance, where these energy lines come together in a peak of energy, very, very powerful energetically. So they would go to their own known local energy point, sacred point, and they'd be able to sit there and meditate there and using the energy pathways in the ground from their nodal point that connected perhaps thousands of miles across the country to a nodal point in another place where a shaman would be there. They could communicate together telepathically using the energy lines, the telluric energy lines. And I was told, and immediately it sort of plopped into place. Oh, by the way, you didn't you know that this process of communication, that was the origin of the whole idea of what they call bush telegraph. Not bad, is it? I'll take that. So, anyway, let's pull back from Australia. Let's come back to the plateau. All right, jump from the village, and what happened with the villagers, our friends, jump to the Solar Cross. Yeah, Solar Cross, right. Another place of huge, huge energy. Yeah, we wanted to visit the Solar Cross when we first went there. Yeah, memorable. So anyway, we got friends there, even friends in the police force who were um, liberated in their spirit and mind. Crazy as Wild West cops, you know, banging off a few rounds from the pistols and that when they felt like it. Great guys, wonderful guys. And we had a couple that used to help us considerably if we needed to get somewhere or see something, and wanted to visit the Solar Cross. So yeah, it was arranged. Now the
Connections,
key,
key
pardon?
connections and keynotes. Now I know
Yeah,
I don't want you to go deep into this because Trev just dropped that we're gonna start bringing Richard into the Secret Underground series with your compadre Billy Brown, William, right? And there's gonna be also plenty of time to go over those
okay,
connections and stuff as well.
okay,
So you don't
okay,
have to go deep, but just
okay,
give them the tip. Just
okay,
give them the tip, please.
okay. Right, I will then. I'll skim over it then in the knowledge that this material will be given in much greater detail in due course. But just to say,
Yes.
look, through wonderful and mysterious circumstances, I found myself talking with a man where he didn't know English, I didn't know Arabic, and our translator was done away with because he wasn't done away with. He was only required after a little while to translate what was being said in Arabic back to my questions in English. My English wasn't necessary to be translated. Somehow this guy knew what I was saying and asking, and he came back to me and he talked. As I say, the story will be told in much greater detail, but he gave a validation to the fact that there were, I'm not going to say visitors because these are descendants, there were indigenous people below ground whom he went to visit and they came to visit him. I'll elaborate that, you know, by the rules of what you've just told me.
Well, I'm
Thank you.
just saying we've yes, yes. I'm not saying that you've
Okay.
got rules. I'm just saying we're going to release a
Oh,
lot more
yes.
content
Yeah,
where the content is going to get a lot more focus.
absolutely. Yes, of course. But I mean, it was necessary to say because it joins together with our understanding, our conviction, um, total conviction of the reality, not the speculation, the reality of the fact that there is a city below ground, Giza, and a repository as part of it that
Hmm.
goes back to ancient times and a technology that wasn't necessarily alien or anything, but it was just an advanced technology of a different kind to the nuclear technology of our today. And to us, it's just a normal thing. We accept that that's what it is. Up on the Giza Plateau in NC2, I've conveyed this many times. I had a visitation down in there. With somebody appeared to me down there at a very low time, and when I was breaking my heart out finding the destruction that had been done down there by the authorities, which was done, of course, to deter people from going to change the status of the place from this phantasmal, fantastic thing to be seen and found and understood and learned from into a place of destruction and dust and rubble that wasn't worth going near anymore. And to a large extent, they succeeded in that. But down below there, even now, you know, that this part isn't going to change. There is an energy down there which all right, okay, intuitively as well as knowledgeably from my experience down there, where there's a change in energy of vibration. It's subtle, but it's real. I we have so many anecdotal stories that I could tell to back this up in other instances and in other places. And again, I'm hesitating because it's going to come out in talks with Bill. Bill knows a lot about this. Trevor knows a lot about this. So, you know, in fairness, people stick with us. If you see our names pop up for another show, then you'll hear us talk about this and give other examples. It'll put cloth to the body of it.
Exactly.
I will say from my own experience, look, that my own belief and understanding is that this isn't accidental. It isn't just picking up earth energies because there's an aquifer below ground and there's this and there's that. No, I personally believe, going along with out of body experiences that have taken me below ground there also and seen things, in part that which have been validated from trips to see things. But from that, my conviction and belief is that by the use of crystalline energy, which may or may not also include telluric crystal stone, manufactured stone energy, I believe that the ancients laid protection there, vibrational protection. And I'm not talking vibrational as in nuclear energy terms. I'm talking about a different kind of energy, crystalline energy, but no less real. And I believe that in general terms, those people who carry an electromagnetic field around them and a vibrational signature, I prefer to call it, that vibrational signature in a person's development has to be of a plus or minus quality that is sufficiently compatible with the energy levels down through the plateau that they are either protected, feel at home, or are rejected and made to feel ill or become ill.
Now,
I know it happens.
Me and Trevor talked about this last night.
Okay,
we talked about this last night, and I cannot sway from saying, you, Bill, Trev, myself, we're not the only ones that have said this. There has been some big name archaeologists that have said the very same thing. There are energies protecting this I'll just say stuff. Okay. That and I know this is going to go into woo doodlebot territory. However, y'all gotta really pay attention and listen. There are now I'm being as clear as I possibly can. From what I've been told, if your heart is not pure and your consciousness is not right, you literally can walk through these things. Number one, you'll not see them. Number two, you'll definitely feel them. And number three, it'll make you sick.
Yeah.
But the key is it's protected by a vibrational frequency, resonance. And if your heart is not aligned, you aren't going to see it. Okay? All right, Richard. I apologize, but
That's it.
again, the
No,
stories are
not at
not.
all.
This is not new. Okay, this
Mm,
is not new stuff. These are just stories that a lot of people haven't heard.
mm. Yes, that's true. And going back to our friend earlier, just to satisfy his question um, at this stage up to a point, I will say to you that the solar cross holds other things to be told. Now, the shafts there go down as deep as any other shaft that you'll know of on the plateau. That's not quite true because I know we were taken to where they go vast, way down. I mean, we were taken to a shaft 3 levels down at one of Mark Lehner's sites at the time, and it was as, when you get down in there, it's like NC2. The darkness is as dark as the darkest pitch night. It's like having your head in a bag inside a bucket in the middle of the darkest night with nothing to stimulate. It is so dark. It is tangible, and so it was 3 levels down. The, the our guide at the time had got a, a newspaper, a broadsheet newspaper with them, which obviously come prepared, and it stopped us as we got to this large shaft opening in the floor, very large one, cut clean as a razor blade at the sides. And he lit the newspaper, fanned it, and dropped it out over, and it went down there. And I mean, the shaft, it wasn't bent or anything. We sort of peered over and saw that flaming newspaper go down, still flaming. The flames went beyond visual sight. If that had been as deep as, say, the Solar Cross, where it's 100 foot plus, those narrow as well at the bottom, they're pyramid shaped at the bottom. But this particular shaft, it just went down for forever, out of sight. And it brought gasps. We gasped at what we'd seen. So clearly there are shafts, and I know of another one on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid and the little mastaba field there. I know of one there, but I found out later that actually lines up to one of the tunnel entrances that was bulldozed and sort of partially blocked by the raising of the collapsing of the buildings. Um,
Richard, I'm at 2 hours. Okay, down below your screen, you should
yeah.
see an image.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what again? What are we looking at? I'm
Oh,
gonna
hang on.
gonna kind
Am
of
I
gotta speed you up a little bit.
okay? Just tag me. Just give me a little hint, and even though I'm not seeing it, I'll know instantly which one you mean.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and try to. I can't actually.
Or in description,
Right
just
there.
that one. Yes. Okay. Good. 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 Right. Got it. That there is the tube tunnel,
Okay.
and on the right hand side of that, the reason I pulled this picture in, it's an old one, is because just to the bottom, to the side bottom right of the picture, you can just see the little bit of the ribs, the plaster ribs showing. Those ribs that were laid into the thing. We go along. We subscribe to the same idea that Andrew Collins aired, and that is that there you go. Look, there's the ribs. Um, that that is a representation of the body of the snake. Now I know that Trevor refers to this as the cave of the snake. It's the entrance of Agatha demon. Now Agatha demon is not Hanash. It isn't a snake as such. Agatha demon is a superstitious snake, you could say. It goes back to Greek times in name, but it is a guardian um, of the upper and lower realms and a protector of, which goes with what is being shown here. This is the entrance of Agatha demon. So, as we were discussing earlier, Matthew, where to the right hand side of the tunnel, when I crawled in there, you see where there's something sticking up in the floor there. Well, those are objects that are wedged into the top of a little shaft or niche or kist. They've got illustrations on them. I'm weaving a bit of a story here together with so you can catch the whole thing. Um, in the floor there, those items they were made to disappear by the rape teams. Okay, now beyond that, deeper into the tube tunnel, it's about 20 foot in. That's where Trevor showed in his recent film where he was sort of wedged in there. Well, I got in there, same feeling. You get wedged in. It's as far as you can go because it's been backfilled from the other side. Um, and I see the logos come up on the screen now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back because this is what happens. It's okay. Keep going.
Okay. Well, I'll keep yabbering away. I managed to twist my head and see to the right hand side that the wall had been eroded away in two or three places, and there was like a little aperture that I could see through. Well, I couldn't see through it; it was pitch dark. But I managed to maneuver my little torch and shine it in there, which revealed when I got it in the right place. I thought, "Oh my God!" I said, "There's a big void in there. Wow!" And I sort of shuffled myself back and shuffled myself forward as far as I could go, and looked in a couple of others, and yes, they were showing that there's a void to the right. I thought, wow. So I got my managed to maneuver my camera. It was exceedingly difficult. I mean, I didn't get movie film in there. I wasn't geared up for it. But going back to Trevor's, you could see how difficult it is to maneuver in there. But I managed to get my sort of hands up alongside me, squashed in. And, you know, the thoughts do go through your head. Oh, what the hell? What if I get stuck in here? What happens next? You know, will this be another bullet job? But anyway, I
Right.
got the camera up and I managed to sort of get the camera lined up with these little fissures. And in two or three places, I took a snap. High definition, got home, examined those, found that this is a void alongside the tube tunnel. And it's got objects in there that are absolutely caked with detritus and all sorts, dust. But under the analysis, I spent a long time analysing them. I was able comfortably to say that there's objects in there. Now, that knowledge immediately tells me that that's an accessible area from somewhere, which again threw me back to the entrance because as you come down the main tunnel, you get close to the tube tunnel. Are you still there, Matthew, by the way? I'm not sure.
I am.
Matthew?
Yes, I'm here. I'm just
Good.
again.
Then.
I'm just trying to get. I
Okay,
can
then.
only
Sorry.
see there
It
again.
went really, yeah, it went really dark, sort of dark, silent. I thought I'd better double check.
Yes, I'm still here. I'm still with you. It's just trying to these screen.
Okay.
You got to understand, please, everybody. We are this. They've tried to stop this stream 3 times. Facebook refuses to connect. I mean, I'm doing what I can. I'm literally doing what I can do.
Yeah, no, understood. Okay, then I'll pick up and carry on with this. So, okay then. Where are we now? With
Screen 2. Let's go.
Oh yes,
keep,
that's right.
continue.
So okay, we're on. When you're in the tunnel going down towards the tube tunnel isn't directly in line with the main course. Yeah, hold that on the screen if you can. I'll come to talk to that. That's
I
really
got you.
important.
I got you.
Okay, yeah, hold that. I'll just finish off on this. So, oh no, it's gone again now.
There.
Yeah, okay, hold it there, and a few seconds I'll come to it. So, okay then, we're now in the main tunnel going down towards the tube tunnel, and what you find is that the main tunnel doesn't line up with the tube tunnel. It's like you have to step to the side about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 feet for the last 10, 12 feet or so to actually get to the tube tunnel. It's like on a different line. So if you're in the main tunnel and you actually examine where you come to a dead stop, you come to a wall. Now this actually, Trevor, bless him, really examined this for me because I hadn't been back since. But checking out from my photographs, I was able to see that there had mortar around it, and I often picked up even where there might even be hinges. But I determined, here's the answer. When you go straight on, that is a big stone plug blocking the original main passage. And of course, if this was a main thoroughfare for the up and down, the coming and going to the lower levels as an artery, then they would need clear and open access, more so than the tube tunnel gives you, because that's only a couple of 2 or 3 feet in diameter. You wouldn't get much through there. And if we're talking about a city with people coming and going, you need something bigger and wider than that. But of course, this would answer it. So then I speculated in my head. I thought, right, supposing that plug wasn't there, this huge stone isn't there, right? It's got mortar around it. Trevor established that properly on his last trip. Now, beyond that, we already know from the fissures in the side of the tube tunnel that in there's a whole ton of artifacts and things that are sort of buried in the dust and everything. Well, they're still surviving there. The rape artists haven't got to them yet for the authorities. And that would be a major operation in any case for them to do so. But beyond that, we know that the tube tunnel has been blocked from the bottom end up. So the right-hand side, if that's open, that must take a different course. Because if it took the same course or joined in together with the other one, even though the left-hand one, the tube tunnel, joins up eventually with the entrance doorway that I figured from Kefren, the cliff at the corner of Kefren, which I've sent you pictures of. We can come to those in a minute. That's another 2 pictures that I sent you. A picture of the blocked doorway in Kefren and a picture that I got in years past before the guard stopped me that shows the doorway inside. No, not that one. That's not that one. No, there. That's inside the doorway at the corner of Kefren, and just it's a bad representation, but to the left of where you're looking, that is an actual door there, and that's a door into the system, into the lower part of the system where Sultan Caviglia managed to get down into the colonnaded chambers and so on, the different ways further down. So what I believe is that they managed to get into colonnaded areas, but I believe that the walkway through the right-hand side of the tube tunnel, that will lead to areas that are divorced from what Sultan Caviglia saw. I suspect that the twin system exists a little bit further. Some was accessible to later people, but I think that the deeper stuff will labor under the protection of more difficulty to get to it, as well as the vibrational protection that's down there. Mm-hmm. So jumping back now, right? Jumping back now to the bull. Back. There. No, okay, stay with that. That's a ram's head, simulacrum. That's actually a carved ram's head. That's down close to the tube tunnel. And below that, there are other smaller versions of the ram's head. And they are embedded into the ceiling crack with, you see to the right there, the reddish colored sand mortar. They're embedded in that, in a ceiling crack. And then further back up the tunnel, Matthew, mm-hmm. on another picture, you can see the bull's head. Okay. There. It's all right. If you went slowly, that was the blocked entrance. Carry on back.
Hang on a second. Let me clear this out.
Yeah.
And you're talking about this one right here, right? This shows the block.
That's the blocked entrance.
Yeah, the back, right.
Back door into it, yeah, or the lower door into the system.
Now they do. They got to remember, everybody. There is multiple. Now here's what a lot of people don't know. Okay, but let's clarify this. There are, from what I understand, way over 80 entrances. 80 entrances plus. Okay, that go into the heart of the plateau. And the majority of those 80 entrances plus, I've heard upwards of 100, are always blocked off like this. Okay, the Tomb of the Birds or NC2 itself is now gated. Okay, it's not.
But you have to Matt. You have to measure this a little bit. Okay.
All right.
I haven't had a sort of detailed, a sort of heart-to-heart conversation with Trevor about this. You know, what he says is absolutely true, right, about the entrances. But you have to put this under measure, because much or many of those entrances are to surface mastabas. And traditionally, like the mastaba, second mastaba near the northwest, southwest corner of the Great Pyramid, where I know of a shaft in there that goes down and leads across and up into a chamber within that corner of the Great Pyramid. And there are other places, like in the English section, the western section of the cemetery. There's a shaft in one of the tombs there, and there are other places as well, like the one that I mentioned in the eastern mastaba field next to the village, and others. I go on, but it's boring to go on. I know of specific places where there are deep shafts that lead out to the deep world. They're very specific, and they're usually concealed within something. It's like NC2. NC2 itself is wonderful and all the rest of it. But, we've been talking about things that you have to negotiate to get to the deeper part. It's like the drop off from the Great Pyramid Causeway. That drops off to a lower level. But there are houses there, without being specific again, because there's been so many of them knocked down. But Bill's ears will prick up along with Trevor's and others that are in the know. There are locations in that vicinity.
Right, air quotes. Did you really just do air quotes?
Yes.
yeah.
The vicinity, and yes, and that lead down to those areas, and we categorically know. We know firsthand. We really do know that there are things that have already been accessed and excavated down at those levels. We are graphically we know. Okay.
No, he's not having a stroke, okay? He's mocking the powers that be. Just to clarify for the record, my boy's not having a stroke. He's just mocking the powers that be. Air quotes and the all of that, all right? He knows. We're talking deep shafts. Deep underground to the core of the... Right.
They're all over the place there. They really are, We've seen... All of us, our names, we can link all our names together. We all are totally aware of what the potentials are, because we've seen more than in a lifetime or a lifetime of lifetimes that certain people at certain levels would wish that we had no knowledge of whatsoever, but we do. So what I'm trying to say is that with these shafts, going back to what Trevor mentioned, yes, there are all these... There's all over the place. They're gated. Even places, innocuous places, tucked well away. I've got a film I haven't put out there called A Walk on the Wild Side, where I'm not talking. You can hear me grunting and jumping and breaking a leg.
Trevor says you're good at this, Richard. The laughter breaks evil.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're good at mocking the system. You just keep it going.
So, okay, I mean, I do a walk on the wild side, you see, and I go a long way out to some of the old half-buried mastabas out there that are gated. I think, what the hell, But the thing is, you see, probably in a lot of those, just like in the places that we actually know of, there are undoubtedly shafts concealed within them. That they are access to shafts that lead somewhere. Because they wouldn't put the shafts out in the open so readily as they would within a place to conceal them. And also a lot of those mastabas were probably built at a different time, a later time, because when we've been down below, I mean, there's one place that we've taken down below in particular along the wall, as it was in the houses. I've got to be careful again. Anyway, we were shown down 3 levels again. Oh, I'm talking about stuff I've never ever spoken even to the lads about.
Just tread easily. That's all. It's all. Just tread easily.
Okay. Yeah. And it's no grand thing that I'm coming to at the end of it all. It's just that we were shown down through, and even in the space that we were taken down through, we were able to, in fact, Bill confirmed this, because I know he's been places where this exact same effect he'll be aware of, where you go down through and you can see underground constructions in red granite. Above those, in level, as you're going down or up and down through, above those, there's limestone. Above those, there's mud brick. Above the mud brick, there's limestone and Tura showing, and a conglomeration, just the same as when the American millions of pound project to grade the soil and take it away from the Sphinx Harbor area, and was stopped when it uncovered the mud brick, huge mud brick constructions. Mud brick, of course, it is built with silt, and the silt comes from inundation that brought in meters and meters and meters of it to fill in the red granite constructions of the harbor and everything that was below. Well, am I being too simplistic? Yes, there's the level, that's there, it shows it. Doesn't require a Bachelor of Science, a Bachelor of Arts, or any other degree to work that out. Oh yes, the one there and there and there and there. That's how it developed. That's how it evolved. And now we're on the surface, and the Americans come along and they dig the ground out, and suddenly, dozens and dozens of teams of archaeologists are put in there to make what they can of it before it's filled back over again. Incidentally, we disguised ourselves as Egyptologists.
You got to do what you got to do, boys.
Yeah, and we clothed ourselves and joined the workers. Mm-hmm. We were helping to excavate, but also gather info at the time. Yes, you'd have to do what you have to do. That is the time in memory when those arc lights were put up, not facing in overnight like they've done before to work overnight. No, they faced them outwards to blind anybody looking in. But that was the time when we got the film from up above the burger house up on the balcony. It was poor film in poor conditions, but it wasn't so poor that I could analyze it using the same techniques and pull out the facts that they got front loaders there and so on, and low loaders, and they were putting like sarcophagus type objects and other things onto the back, gone into the blue yonder like everything else. Oh dear, yes, another plan blown, even though they'd got these arc lights to blind everybody in the wrong direction. So, all these tricks and things go on. But they must think that we, the public, us illiterate, stupid, private researchers, and the public generally, that we're completely stupid.
Yeah.
It doesn't take rocket science to figure these things out.
No, sir.
You don't have to have a PhD to figure these things out, for crying out loud. And so it is. We are aware. They would prefer that we weren't, but we are aware of the constructions and what's down there. We don't need convincing anymore. We know that there's stuff down there. We know that GPR has been done at lower levels within the areas that encompass the NC2 system.
Richard, prior to me, literally, I want to get your, not your opinion. I know your opinion. I know the real story, but I want you to share and literally drive home for everybody the absolute deviance. I'm not going to name names, big guy, right? However, I want everyone to know that the limits, there are no limits that these people go to. We've already heard that our friends on the Cairo, friends in Cairo on that plateau that working with even death, right? We know that even that is a possibility. Mm-hmm. However, I want you to go in for a little bit as to the detail as to the length that these people will go to bury and or conceal the things in which even the what we're seeing right now. Okay, I am absolutely, my heart flutters because all of the things that we've been speaking about throughout the years they're coming to fruition. We're literally watching. I can't help but say, I talked to Trev last night, and we talked about this. The dam is broke. It's breaking even further, and what's coming out is there's no stopping it at this point.
Absolutely. It is. It's true. Now it's running away now. It's like the dam's broken.
The dam is
And
broken.
and I have to say to people out there listening, I hope this breaks past the barriers of those who are trying to, circumvent this, and that this is shared out, and it really does get out to a lot of people. But I have to say that the position we're in at the moment is, especially with the new SARS results, it really has broken the barrier, because the stranglehold that the authorities have had on everything on the Giza Plateau has relied on the fact that they've had control with the wall, the Great Wall of Giza, for example, for the tyrannical control that one certain person has had on the plateau. Undoubtedly, the hold that exists between senior people, where everybody knows of somebody else who has benefited from the endemic black market system, the corruption, and that has kept a cap, undoubtedly. Well, I know from local people there, that has kept a cap on things arising, because everybody, because the system is endemic, most important people there have got a reason to fear the noose going round their neck. And the result of that is that, of course, everything is closeted. Except now we've got things like the SARS results coming out, and we've got droves of highly intelligent colleagues and friends that I can quote now, who are independent researchers who maybe haven't come the academic path, but believe me, they are turning over. They are the source of the new information that's coming out.
Right.
I'm not just saying about myself, but they're the ones who are prepared to put themselves under risk, are prepared to go out there and get the dirt under the fingernails. They're not just talking about it from their armchairs and having an opinion, which the whole world does, we know. But there are tons and tons of people who are genuine, fantastic people, names that are known, openly known to people now on the internet and so forth, who do the research, who really are doing the research, putting their time, their resources, and so on to it, and are uncovering information and breaking the dam, despite the danger and so on. I mean, the danger comes when you actually do stupid stuff like I've been doing, where you go in physically yourself to find out or do something, and you have to do that. Somebody has to be prepared to do that, because that gets you to the deeper stuff and sort of circumvents everything that they're trying to do to stop you. It has a high price, it really does. But because quite apart from the couple of times that I nearly bought it, in financial terms, I mean, I'm almost proud of the fact. Shouldn't really say that. But the fact that I've gone the last decades, and I haven't had a penny from anywhere, any source. It's been from my own earnings and now my own pension, that I've financed and funded myself all the way along the way, to the point on a couple of three occasions exactly, I came home from a trip that I had to take out there, but I had nothing in the bank. It wasn't until I went back to work, I got food help from friends, where I used up all my money in the bank until I got my next wage. And you have to, if you're dedicated to it, you have to be prepared to go that far. Otherwise, you don't get the results you get. But I have come close. I mean, you alluded to it, Matthew, a short while ago, about the dangers and so on. And one time I was mistaken for, it was thought that I was actually Andrew Collins.
You were mistaken as Collins.
Well, yeah, not in person, but what happened was on that one, that was the latter of the two occasions when I came close. and I've been down inside NC2 so many times,
Right.
and the strain of doing it and so on. I mean, it was telling, and I needed to get back again. There was some information each time. I sort of planned from the photographic evidence and so on, and spending all the hours when I got home. I thought, I'm going to have to check that out. I'm going to have to measure that. I'm going to have to see to this things that it uncovered that I needed to explore further. So I knew what I was going back for each time, but each time, you think, well, the odds are getting sort of lower, aren't they, for me to be caught out? It goes through your head, and so the one time I thought, I just wonder. Look, I've saved myself a little bit on the last couple of trips. I've saved enough in the time that's gone past, so can I afford? To me, was a huge amount, a few thousand. But in real terms now, when they talk millions out there, stupid money, bloody stupid, greedy, stupid money to do anything at all, to go and do something from the tourists. Um, but I thought, well, I've got a little bit in my terms. I wonder if it's enough to get me into NC2 in a bit more of a relaxed way this one time. So I put my feelers out, and sure enough, it came back. Yeah, if you're willing to give that amount up, we can get you in there. But I was told, don't be surprised if you're not allowed free reign. We'll get you in there, but there'll be somebody with you. It'll be for a set time, and I don't know whether they'd let you go freely up and down and in and out like you want to.
So are you Richard? Are you referring to going exclusively into
Yes.
NC2 without? I'm saying literally without a tour guide. Just like give them $5,000 here. Get $5,000 here. I need a half an hour. Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, that's right. They won't let you go in like freely, like I was going in, and I'd go in there for a day or a night, and I'd spend many hours each time in there. No, this would be, you'd be allowed a restricted time. They'd take their money. They'd give you as little as they can for as much as they could get, and that's the watchword. That is the watchword of how they do it.
Now,
They'll
of
take as
course,
much as they can, as little as they can give.
remember this is just one specific corridor. We know this is NC2, North Cliff 2. Prior release, or even that is, this is what it is, NC2. It is,
Yeah,
quote, air quotes, coined by Mr. Collins as the Tomb of the Birds. So, and if you guys like trying to research what we're discussing here, this is exactly what we're just talking about, the Tomb of the Birds.
yeah,
So
that's right.
that would be, again, that would be its designated name via whatever, but its scientific name, right, through history, epidemiology, blah blah blah. What we know it as is North Cliff 2. Continue, Richard. I'm sorry.
Right. Yes. No, it's good. It's okay. So, I mean, loosely, I mean, the story's out there in plenty of sources now, but loosely, when Andrew and Nigel Skinner Simpson, when the notes of Henry Salt and Giovanni Caviglia from 1817 were released, where they spoke about their exploration of the upper part of the system of NC2, um, Andrew and Nigel latched onto those notes, and as a result, they went searching, and they rediscovered the entrance. Okay, fair enough. Um, but there was an ongoing battle that took place because Andrew tried to deal with it, the rediscovery, officially with Zahiwas.
Imagine that. I'll say it. Imagine that.
Yeah. Now, Andrew thought in good faith at the time that Zahiwas would, applaud the fact that he and his colleagues had made the rediscovery. Um, but it must have come as a jolt, would have been to me. But Zai acted in the opposite way. He said, basically, you're lying. It's not. They don't exist. We know there's a little bit of this and that up there, but no, there was a battle, and that battle undoubtedly was because the ego was crushed, because there was something that he didn't know about.
Which is?
Yes, the underground NC2 and the way in. Allegedly, anyway, he may have known. I think he probably. I'm convinced and satisfied in myself that all along he knows, in general terms, of the enormity of what's below ground there. But I think that he's constrained. He's got strings attached.
Well,
You
of
know,
course.
it is. So okay, then we're at the situation now where there's a historical situation of Hawass basically got his ass kicked publicly, and he had to defend himself because Andrew stood up against him. You know, he acted as anybody would. You know, he might be the big man, Zai, but you know, in this case, he was trying to blow smoke up someone's backside, and so it came to be quite a public spat. I know they've made up. I think that they're on good terms now. I will say that, but at the time, it blew up publicly, really publicly, nasty, and I know from the follow-on experience that I had that Zai, it was an incandescent situation for him because he was publicly humiliated by it. So move forward in time a little beyond that. Now I'm trying to make my more open, paid for arrangements to get into NC2. By now, in reaction, unfortunately, that was one of the worst things of this whole encounter. The thing that pissed me off the most at the time was I gated the damn place. Iron grated it, and I had to find a way past that, which I did. But it gave me problems. But that needn't have been gated. I might have stayed ungated for a long time beyond where we could have all gone. Anybody could have come and gone and gathered information about it and learned much more before the clamps came down on it. So here am I then trying to make my arrangement, pulling the strings, coughing the money up, the arrangement's made. The way it's going to happen is I'm going to go in by the back door where the police station was. I don't know if it still is there. I think it is, but it's been built up much more now. Where the fence is, go in the back way. I've been in the back way a few times before, but that wasn't on official terms. And from the police station there, I was going to be taken by the police in one of their vehicles over to the Harvard building, which is above, almost literally sitting on the top of NC2. And from there, conducted into NC2. So I'd been dropped at the gate, and I'd met up with policeman friends that we had, and it was all jovial. It's all a bit crazy. It's like going to a Wild West outpost, to be honest with you. And the guys are all crazy, wonderful, great. And as I say, they're not opposed to occasionally just for the sheer hell of it of letting a few rounds off here and there. But anyway, so I was in the car, the policeman, and he was chatting to his mates out the window and so on. The car, vroom, 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 and I'm sitting in there. And in my head, I thought, well, I've said it, yeah, I've cracked it. Great. Just drive. I want to get in there. That's all I want to do. That's all I had. Get in there. And tonight I'm going in there and they're going to turn the key on the lock of the key on the lock. Whoopee. So I'm sitting there and anyway, as this chat's going on, it's quiet other than the sort of boom, 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 boom of his car. And the sounds of the talking, the guys in the station. And you could hear over the back end of the plateau. You can't hear anything else. And you have to understand that this isn't the same desert going on beyond the plateau as you would find out beyond Beni Suef. That's the real Western desert. That's of sort of Lawrence of Arabia type desert out there. But here, there must be millions of tons of soil and stuff from excavations and building across Car that goes out in that direction is dumped. And there's lots of areas of sites where people are still excavated into the ground there to find things. And there's lots of places, hidey places. Also, there were war installations out there, bunkers, and God knows what. And the locals all knew like the back of their hand. And anybody driving out that way, they wouldn't drive with lights. They knew it well enough to drive in the darkness. So I'm painting the picture for you because we could hear sounds coming from that direction of a vehicle, but sort of high pitched sounds. You could hear it, I mean, it came into our field of hearing. And my friend who I was sitting with, he didn't break conversation with the chaps he was speaking to outside. But the sound got louder, and I could tell that he was picking up on it. Who the hell's that sort of coming? And then they're concerned because they want to know who's coming and going. Well, they want to know. So the sound of this vehicle in the distance rapidly got louder and louder and louder, and it seemed in an instant where the gates were open to the back area by the station. A vehicle come roaring in, and up alongside where ours was, and screeched to a halt, and I like did a speed stop on the ground, the clouds of dust and that going up. And in a few seconds, I'm looking out to this sort of excitement, and they too. But I recognized, and I'm sure they did as well, very quickly, that's my host. He's a don in the village, right? That's my host. What the hell? He's the one who helped me arrange all this. Something. What the bloody hell? And he gets out of the car, comes across to the one I'm sitting in. So I was sitting in there, and he says across the driver, he says to me, Richard, get out of the car. And I look at him and I, what's going on here? He said, Richard, don't argue with me. He says, get out, come to my car. And I'm thinking, I look puzzled and I go as if to move, but I'm hesitant. He says, please don't, I will explain. Just do what I ask. Get out of the car now, come to my car. And there was urgency in his voice. So, okay, I got my bags and things that I got for in there. I got bags full of lights and God knows what. And got out and went across to his car while he still stood talking to the driver. And I got into his car, and my head's going, what the is happening here?
I bet at this point you're scared shitless, thinking somebody's either going to die or somebody's going to jail, one of the two.
Yeah, I reckoned on big terms, absolutely. This wasn't a little thing happening. There's something big going on,
yes.
I realized.
Right.
So after a minute or two of their conversation, he started to walk away from him, and that car was then driven off round to where they got the cars and things. In the meantime, I'm not going to say his name. I'm having to hesitate each time to not say his name.
Right.
He came round, got in the car. He said to me, Richard, say nothing. He said, we talk in a moment. So I didn't say anything. Okay. He did a very fast round U-turn and back out the gates. Instead of heading home, he headed into the sort of urban desert, and no lights, and he's driving. That way was scary. I mean, I scared the shit out of me, to be honest, because he's at fast speed going down, and it's pitch dark, and I can't see a bloody thing. It's like having a blindfold on. Yeah, he knows where he's going here and there, and the car's going this way and that way and all sorts. And he's obviously going to a place that I knew later that was out of earshot of anyone, where we came from. And he was going to a hide place. And it was a bunkered area that I realized. Sub-level, so nobody could see you from above. You could hear a pin drop 100 yards away. and he parked up there, and it was like he really like that. So he said, "Okay," and he started to explain. He had a friend, like a family friend. You got to admit now, this is an important man in the village. He's got extensive family in buildings around where he lives, and one of those worked up at the Harvard end. He was one of the workers up there, and he explained that what had happened was, because it was all fresh, the new director at the time, when Zahi explodes, you've seen this on film with students and others. They've made light of it afterwards, but that's how he is. I know, talking to people, they are scared of his power on the plateau. I hate him for it. But it's legendary. He'll take it out on the next person in the hierarchy. They get the brunt of it. He'll
Mm-hmm.
put his toe up their arse and make their life bad. And at that time, because of the debacle with Andrew and the way Zai was feeling, um, he was incandescent. He was beyond rage over it all, and he took it out on the people next in line. Well, the next in line was the guy that oversaw the permissions and things for things to be arranged. Because it was
Excavations, permits. He said,
yeah,
she said, hand per hand. Yeah,
yeah,
right. We get it.
you know, depending on the amount, the price, the money, the backsheesh, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'd come on the scene, and word came through to for fixers along the chain to arrange for this, somebody wanted to go into NC2, and wanted longer time and this and that, and so on. Because as I did, I pushed it like crazy. Obviously, I wanted my money's worth, knowing I wouldn't get it, but the best I could get. Well, when this filtered through, they put two and two together and got five. They said, "This is Andrew Collins trying to get into NC2 from evidence and stuff." So they arranged a reception committee. Now, what I was told was, if you'd gone, they wouldn't have known better. And this is the words that was used, they stick in my mind. I would have been educated, but I wouldn't have been allowed to come home.
Or they'd have killed your ass. Let's just cut to the chase, right? They'd have probably killed you.
Yes, they were going to. They were reception was there waiting to beat the f out of me and kill me.
Absolutely
Um,
right.
and what had happened was, um, the the family member of my host got a phone call, phoned my host, because he realized what was brewing there, and he realized the mistake because he knew of me through his family, through the family connection, and he phoned him and told him. So as soon as he heard, of course, he had to get to me before it got to that stage, and he just caught me in time because I would have driven off, and that would have been it. So he saved my life on that. And the other time, if I just shorten it down, the other time was, it was arranged through the back door. I'd paid money to grease the people involved, and the idea was that I would be taken to different stations, to there, to there, to there, and then in, and then the same reverse, to go out. But again, fate intervened, and an other worker person turned up on shift that night that wasn't down or due to work, but he was on hard times money wise, so he'd sort of put him down for a shift doing mechanicing or whatever the hell they were doing up there. And they had to deal with him as well. So it meant cutting the money to pay him off as well. And he wanted more. He was a greedy bastard.
Wow.
He wanted more, and he was unhappy, and he thought that they were holding out on him. They weren't, because they knew me and they knew it was good money from me.
It's
So
again what scares me, Richard. What scares me is because you were going to you were literally how do I say this? You were subject to an ass kicking. Plus, they wanted more money, and if you didn't give more money, and blah 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 blah, it sounds as if they were going to eliminate you anyway. I'm just saying. What is that? What
well,
crossed your mind?
yes, well, that I mean that's always the bottom line. You think to yourself, oh, this if this turns turtle, that's bad. And in my mind, I got contingency plans. I'd
Right.
already sort of from reconnaissance, I'd got ways that I was going to go. I knew I could get out the back wall, or sorry, the western wall. It was going to be arduous and that, but I knew of different ways where I'd literally have to go commando. I'd have
Right.
to go to ground and literally crawl belly wise over half or three quarters of a mile to do what I had to do. There's also the dogs to negotiate because, in certain parts of the plateau, the dogs sleep there in hollows overnight. And the legend is true. At night time, the dogs, despite the bad treatment that people locally give them, they are guardians of the plateau. And I made friends with dogs as often as I could, so they recognize me.
And we
Um,
won't we won't we won't even discuss. We will not even discuss the way that they treat the animals, the mules,
oh my
the
God.
pack. I mean, because that right there, Richard is completely other broadcast, is it not?
Yes, it is. It's a separate, and there's so much I can tell you in that direction as well.
Right. I
But
mean,
yeah, all right, let's pull back just to the tail end of this one. So, okay then. I'd been in there. I'd been down in there. I spent many hours, and now it's time before dawn and the place being opened. I had to get out, and this was a relay, bonk to bonk to bonk. So I was in the middle main place where I'd have to stay for quite some time, and then one of the guys would come and pick me up from there and take me out or guide me out. And I was like dressed, as an Egyptian, you know, um, full disguise. You never go dressed as a tourist. And yeah, so smelly as I was all ready to go. And in that place, I'd had the foresight to. I got to there in my hazmat suit. It all happened so quick. The pickup. I didn't have time to take the damn thing off. I was a bit worried about that because even though we were below the skyline, it was an extra risk, and I wanted to stop, but no, we had to get to that place. So as soon as I got there, I took off the hazmat and I buried it, brand new, buried it, and also my chemical mask, very expensive, but this time I had to bury it with it. And I was there, and I got my bag and my clothes and things, and my disguise clothes, and my lights and everything, and I was just waiting. Well, I heard sounds, but it's not the sounds I wanted to hear because it was conversational sounds, and I expected one guy to appear. And round the corner came this grunt, this little shit of a greedy extra guy, accompanied by a policeman. But this policeman was not the friendly kind. He came round, and his voice escalated as soon as he came round the corner of this little alcove where I'd been taken, enclosed alcove within the mastabas. He started sound off, so literally shouting at me, and he pulled his gun out, and he had the gun at me, like gangster style, and he was jabbering to the other guy in Arabic and sort of broken English again. Who you? What you got there? And he's waving his bloody pistol around, and because I'm complying, totally subservient, complying, and so on, thinking, oh Christ, what's going to happen here? I'm sort of peeling out, sure what I didn't have much of anything with me evidential. I had my little burner phone. That's all I ever took around with me. Burner phone with one phone number on there to my host. That was how it worked.
that's
Right.
smart. That's very smart.
Okay. So I had this, and he's grabbing at this with one hand while he's got this pistol in the other. And then he's getting even more bloody excited, while the other guy is terrified, asshole that he was. But he was terrified now the way this was developing, because the policeman now, he was coming on even more aggressive on me, I suppose, because I was acting so passive. That made him feel big, and he come us to the point where he had the bloody pen here, where he had this gun, and he had it against my forehead, and
Oh my
he was
God.
pushing my bloody head back against the wall, the mastaba wall. And in those seconds, that was it. I'm going to be shot. This is it. I'm going to get shot, and I'm going to disappear. Everything flashes through your head so quick
Sure.
in those instants, and it is like time is compressed. You flash so much in your head, and those when you feel like you're an instant from bang and you're gone, or pop and you're gone. And I in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm just drawing on instinct. What do I do? How do I act? And the only thing I could think to do, which is what I did, was I sort of buckled, but my legs buckled. It was all a bloody act, but it was an act in fear as well. I went into a fake heart attack, and I started as if I was, not able to talk, or like my jaw was going into paralysis. When you can't speak, like a stroke, faking a stroke, a heart attack. And I went down clutching my chest under my knees and that, making sounds as I thought sounded right for it, putting on a freaking Oscar performance. Well, with that, the guy, the other Arab guy, he actually stopped talking. It shocked him what was happening in front, and he started talking in Arabic to the guy with the pistol, and he drew back with the pistol and that. And as I realised later, in that moment, the shock of that happening and me going down and pretending I'm fucking having a heart attack, he was clearly more concerned about this bloody tourist dying in front of him for a heart attack than him shooting me.
Wow.
You see, it was like a farce. But at any event, okay. So now they're jabbering in Arabic to it, and the Arab guy to the policeman, I could see him gesticulating to the phone, and he opened the phone and picked up the one number on there. Of course, they knew. Instantly, they knew who that was on the phone. The whole village know who's in charge and who the big man, or the boss, and so on is. And his name is known in the whole district.
Well, sure, we know his name by just saying big guy.
Yes. So he pressed the button on it. At the other end, my man, the big man, he picked the phone up to him, and there was a conversation took place. He instantly got what was going on, and he summoned them. Didn't that was his status? He's the policeman, but hey, I'm in bloody charge of this. He summoned him and the other guy to his house. You come to me now.
Wow.
And they literally left. Out of the Arabic conversation, a bottle of water was produced to give to me. You drink this, settle, and the sort of just settle, quiet, stay. You stay there, drink, stay. And off they went. Poof, they were gone. So I'm left there thinking, I just on my head, I think, oh, Jesus, you can't make it up, and I'm sat there trying to get. I thought, well, I'm going to have to, whatever happens when they come back. I said, I've got options now. Do I do a disappearing act?
Right. I was about to ask you. Did you think they was going to kill all of you in the car? I'm just out of curiosity to totally wipe out the entire team. Is that?
No. The car thing was a separate thing. This is a different occasion.
Oh.
This is a.
Oh damn, man.
Totally different occurrence. Right. This was a second occurrence, totally devoid from the other one. Okay. The car thing. That took place and was gone, and I was saved out of it by my host.
Right.
Now, this occasion, my host has summoned the policeman and the other guy to their address. This is a second safari. Okay?
Oh my God! Right, dude. By the way, I'm just letting you know. We are at 3 hours, and at this point, we've 3 hours, and I'm gonna run out of record time here on the studio that you're in. We, anywhere we can jump off here, but maybe not next week, but the week after, come back and like finish this, because we haven't even touched on the findings. We have not touched on the findings of the Italian team. What we believe just been down there. We've talked a little bit about the Rose Granite. I'll say it's Rose Granite City.
Yeah.
But these again, there's things that people need to know about, and I'm glad they now know about you being here and the connections they're making. Yada yada. But I don't even know where we can have a jumping off point, Brother Richard. Do you, out of curiosity? I know that we've got to that we absolutely have got to get to a jumping off point.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Well, look, let's just I'll tail off. I'll just finish off that thing there. Essentially, he sorted out some compensation money for saving face had to be paid, but I got all my stuff back. I was gathered and collected and taken off the plateau. So that's sort of gives you a level of the dangers. But right now, with the sort of floodwater breaking on all of it, publicity's the thing. I would urge people, however much you've got out of this, or that's still got to come, and we'll have another session and go on and churn over a whole bunch more stuff. There's so much. You got to appreciate, folks out there, that we've been bottling all this stuff for the last 2 decades, for God's sake. Not just me. There's a whole host of people. There's Bill Brown and Trevor and tons of other people out there, researchers, who've been bottling stuff. We're in the know. If you know, you're in the know, yes. But, through fear of us being stopped from going out there to continue what we're doing, to learn more of what we're doing, and more of what's going on now. I've got so much bottled. I just personally, I have all the stuff, the nonsense about those water pumps being installed there. Ask me about that. I'll tell you about that, and the accountants to do with that, and about the clandestine things that we caught in the night time over there, and other stuff in the village. The temple and so on that was concealed, and the tunnel from the Coptic church in the village. And oh God, I'm in my head spinning now to think of it all. There's so much.
Something I want you to cover, and that is the Rosetta. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Okay, there was from what we understand, there was a Rosetta Stone, a blueprint stone. And we know there's many things like the sarcophagi, like the mummy. I call her the queen. Okay, we know that these things have been seen by many people. There's been images, there's been video, there's been even audio of conversations. I've got audios of conversations, and here's the thing: these things, like Brother Richard's talking about in NC2. As well as the many corridors that are under the plateau. There's images, there's documentation, there's things, okay, that whenever I'll just say this, thank God our Italian team is doing what they're doing, because it's amazing that these things are going to come out, right? But here's the kicker. Now that we've got what we've got coming out, we're going to say, where did these... We're seeing the same images that you're seeing. This is the same room as this. So, where did all of these things go to that was in this chamber? We now have a whole room missing stuff. We've got a room missing gold. We've got a room missing all kinds of shit. Where did it go? Mm-hmm. Am I right, Brother Richard?
Yeah, there's tons of stuff down there still, though, Matthew. Whatever's been... Yeah, stuff is made to disappear to that great warehouse in the sky that only 1 or 2 people probably know about, or very select people at a certain level know about. Very powerful people, ruthless people, who don't mind. This is the level who don't mind, as with NC2, going through there with I call rape teams to try and destroy what's down there to divert people from its importance so
Ex-
that they don't pursue further down deeper to what that is important, most important
exactly.
for them. For
Raping
them.
and pillaging. They are literally raping and pillaging completely unknown history. And
Yes.
that's the thing. That's the thing that really, really, dude. Richard, that's the spear in my heart, and should be the spear in. It
Absolutely.
hurt. It hurts. I mean,
Yes.
you've bro. I want to remind everybody. This is a fellow that's been in there, seen the raping and the pillaging of these places. Literally turned off the light, broke down, and cried. However, let me share something with you, okay? That he didn't really point out
Yeah.
is whenever he had that opportunity to do that, he wasn't alone.
That's
He
right.
knew he
Yes.
wasn't alone. He felt he wasn't alone, and he wasn't
I
alone.
wasn't. I had somebody had a visitation down there that one time. I mean, I always felt presence down there. It's difficult to discern because the vibration changes, and I suppose
Right.
I'm sensitive to the vibration. But that one time there, I mean, I'll never forget. Like, I sunk down to my knees, and I just in that moment, I mean, I was completely broken down by it, overcome with the sorrow of what had been done, of the violation of what had been done. It was
Mm-hmm.
like my own house had been broken into. And as I'm on my knees there, and I switched my flashlights out to the point, and I just meditate in the darkness to suck it up. And as I switched I felt presence just standing over from me. And it's funny because I look in photographs and I can actually pick it out in the photographs where it was down in there. And as I switched my little flashlight on, I've got to gather myself. I've got to pull myself together again. Um, and over to my right, I saw, and it's like when I've had automatic writing, not automatic writing come to me, when I've had. Um, I used to get didactic poetry appear to me, and it was like somebody had sort of taken a book, flashed it in front of your eyes. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, gone. Right. Now
Yeah.
you've got to remember exactly what's on the page to write it down and repeat it. That's how didactic posts and things would come to me to be written down. And that other page that I've got called Visions on Facebook, that's where a lot of stuff in there is from. But anyway, so I'm down there and I'm describing that because it was like that sort of a occurrence. I suddenly felt this surge of presence, and over to my right, I saw a figure, but I can't say it was a split second, but it was a very short time. But it was so so striking, like a flash of lightning. It's so powerful in your mind. It's just like you you saw what you saw for minutes or for a long time, even though it was a very short time. That's what I'm trying, like what I described with the book and the writing, the things given to me. And the guy I saw there was standing there, had a very slight smile, and was taller than me. I mean, I'm not very tall, but looked a bit taller than me. And the clothing, the garment he had on, it was like the only thing I could draw a simile to was do you know what burlap looks like?
Sure. Yeah.
Burlap,
The old
like
potato sack.
yes, but I'm not talking about if you saw a potato sack, yeah, you'd say that's burlap, but you you could see a set of curtains made from fine burlap. Does that make sense?
Like a fine
Like
linen, maybe? That looked like
yeah,
burlap?
no, it was burlap, but it. I felt quality in it. It didn't
Okay.
look rough. That's what I'm trying to convey. In that instance of seeing the person, this person was in a gown. It was like a smock, um, but there were trousers there. Can't really in my mind's eye see the separation, but it was like a burlap clothing, but it didn't look rough or unkind. It had a soft feeling to it. And the guy's head, his hair was sandy coloured, not much different from the cloth of whatever it was he was wearing. Um, and he looked with really kindly eyes, and there wasn't anything spoken. I mean, as I say, it was seconds that seemed like a long time.
Mm.
That immediately took my breath. But in my mind's eye, there was a sentence. There was something said to me in my head, like it was like a telepathic comment, because I was putting out. I was filled with why this, why is, and the message that I got back was uh, a calming message to say, all in its own time, and that's what I got, and
What
I understood that. It had meaning to me, that call it laws of karma or what, that things would occur as they were timed and meant to occur,
oh wow, right.
and I felt comfort in. Yeah, I can feel it. I can see it now, and I feel that feeling again now. Um, um, I felt I was devastated at what I was seeing, but I felt that I was supposed to be there, and I.
Richard, let me tell you something, okay? You are a key player in what's happening. You are a key player in what's happening. Okay? The world is ready to see what you have seen.
It
Okay?
needs to. It needs to.
It's going to be all right. You're doing everything possible without anybody getting hurt, dying, or whatnot to bring out this story. And I understand you were probably being very comforted by what we two refer to as the elders. And that is a significant. No one can take that away from you. That is
The man
something.
that I saw, Matthew, man I saw. I mean, since then I've seen pictures, where there's representation said this is this type of person from beyond Earth. This is that type of person. This is part of our DNA. That is the closest I can tell anybody, I can share with anybody, that subsequently I put an identity to the person that I saw that was there with me. Was Acturian, and anybody can look that up. That the classic picture that as described of what an Acturian looks like. He looked like what I've seen represented as an Acturian, whatever, however. Um, but I know I'm confident within my own conviction that um, where it is said that there are those of a different time or dimension that are among us, I'm totally accepting within my own spirituality, my own conviction, my own vibration, that they do in fact walk among us, not always seen,
Right.
not always seen, but they are there on different levels, ready to help and respond to the vibration that we project, that we put out. They would be aware whether or not you are a genuine person or a not genuine person, or that you're motivated by some form of selfish desire or whatever. You can't hide from your own vibrational signature. And when I put that out to all those people who are, I hate to use the word, but who are would be explorers or discoverers or whatever, who are in it for the kudos and the glory and all the rest of it. They can take all their glory and they can stick it, because it's meaningless in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
You have to. You said it earlier. You have to have some purity of heart. You have to. You have to accept and know your minuscule place in the scheme of things, but it's also a place of greatness,
It,
because
it
in each one of us that greatness exists, And it's for us to allow that space for it to come out and for it to do its work and be fulfilled in it. And it's the reason, Matthew, why when we go over to these places and so on, time and again, people have advised me you shouldn't, you couldn't, you don't. I feel completely comfortable because I know I'm not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm being helped. I know, we make the joke of somebody up there looking after me. Well, to heck with it. I know that there are those in a different place that are there helping us. Just the same as my man on at the Solar Cross indicated the people that came to him and that he went to visit. I totally believe him. And when people ask, I haven't seen, and I know others would poo-poo it. Anybody of an academic mind would say this is nonsense. I'm very sorry. You hold to your understanding and belief and conviction. I'll hold to mine. I totally believe the fact that there are logically, apart from likely, those below, descendants of original visitors, builders here that were a part of the original building and setting out of it all, who are still there. A rear guard.
Brother Richard, look, I hate to cut you off and again go and get ready, but it is we're 3 hours, 15 minutes. I'm gonna have you. We're gonna have you back again, but this is probably gonna be after some more of whenever the team releases more stuff.
Sure.
Whenever the SAR guys, the Italian team, which is separate from our group, we'll just I was going to say, make it clear, like Trevor said, they are not part of our group. They are an advocate with us, and we'll say, well, I don't even say an advocate. They are they're their own thing, right? They are their own thing. However, we need them, and they need us. Yada yada. They're bringing things out right now, or Richard and his guys are bringing things out that. And the SAR team that are literally sharing and showing is true. Everything that we've said, everything that you've thought, you're watching it come to fruition. Richard, right? It's coming out.
It's absolutely, it's how it is. Yes.
So
Publicity's the thing. It's the one. Again, I hate to use the word weapon, but it is.
right.
It's the biggest weapon against this cloistered stance of the authorities. Publicity. People, please, out there, if you want to help, you can be as strong a part of all of this as somebody in there, in these places, personally, just by sharing. Believe me, the power that you have in your hands as a listener to joining this exposure process is so great if you just share this.
Allies.
Share it,
good word, Trevor. Allies. Our allies in the fight here.
Yes.
Good word. I got tongue tied. I'm reading here. Again, the love coming for you and everybody out there that's doing this, Richard, is just off the chain. Okay, for real. Shout out to Trevor Grassi. He's like, "Thank you, Richard. You are the freaking man. So proud to be working with you and beside you, bud." I mean, there again, dude. We are trying to. It's going to take a collective to make this what it needs to be. Now, again, remember, this broadcast on Facebook touches around between 4 and 6 million people. There's a damn reason they wouldn't let me smash the live button on Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. On the Matrix page, I already know.
Yeah.
However, it's fine. I'm gonna find a way around this. We'll work this out, and 3 hours of content coming your way. Facebook Matrix Minds page. It's gonna come out. I mean, it's, whether they like it or not, we'll get it. Even if I've got to break it up 4 ways from Sunday, me do half, Trevor give half. It's all coming out. All of it.
Right. Yes. Trevor, Matthew, I also got to say, as a little rider to everything that you said, this whole process, there is no way we would have even got to the stage that we're at the moment, but for good souls such as yourself and all the other podcasters who are carrying this work, giving it space and promoting it. I know, Trevor, you've been out there working like crazy with a whole bunch of podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's invaluable. Matthew, you are one among all the others, but I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the time, space, and help and assistance and advice and grounding that you've provided for me
Oh,
and
absolutely, buddy.
these brothers.
You hold a special place in my heart. You truly do. I mean, I've always, a lot like you, been really really drawn to NC2, and whenever I met you through some time ago, Gunner, dude, I fell in love with you because you knew so much. I mean, I've talked to John Anthony West about this. I've talked to other people about this. I know friends who's talked to Collins about this. The years of doing this, I'm not just throwing out names to just throw names, but knowing these people, I've never in my life met someone so passionate about this specific corridor. I gotta say, a corridor to the core of where do these things lead to? But you yourself, we haven't even gotten into your addiction, passion to. You've literally duplicated this cavern, or this chamber in 3D model. You know,
Yes,
every square inch of this bastard. Like Trevor said, you know so much about this this tomb, this corridor, that he didn't even need to. He studied your stuff. There's people that trust you in your work so great. Again, without your stuff, he knew that Trevor. I'm saying this. I'm not putting words in his mouth. He clearly says this. With you giving him what he needed, dude, he already knew that tomb. He already knew that chamber like the back of his hand because of you.
yeah.
Because of you. You are a key.
Them for saying so. It's very kind. And I'm also glad to say, and I think that the ancients had a hand in this, perhaps even right up to modern day, prompting in the background. But I can say this to you, Matthew, that for all the damage that they've done down there, and even if they went in again for further sorties and searches, those illustrations, they're not just hapless illustrations. Some of those illustrations are guides. There are features in them that I've recognized that actually point or indicate to certain places or certain things that you have to do that would take you and lead you to concealments.
Right.
I can say this, I'll say this, and I feel I can say it in safety because I know the protections that are in place. There are further concealments within the system that would make world headlines. I'll go that far.
Right.
I have feelings of what these are in certain places, and they've been missed, and I think they will be missed. And I think that the more damage is done, the more likely they are to actually hide them further. And it made me smile actually when I heard of damage being done in a certain way in certain places in there. They don't know what they're handling. It's above and beyond them. They're 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 a step behind because their vibration won't allow them to consider or
Right.
speculate that this could be true or that could be true. So it's an extra protection in there. And Trevor, bless him, he helped so much by going in there, getting that film, which I had been unable to get before everything blew up. A full film that was going to be the next thing, so it wasn't meant to be for me, and but Trevor did, and uh, uh, what he's provided with that film is the full set from before and after. I've the before, he's provided the after, and between the two, it provides a narrative so that whatever the authorities say, there is time, date stamped evidence that proves X, Y, and Z, and and calls them to bar. They cannot avoid it. They can squirm, but they cannot avoid it. They might think that they have concealed what they have done, but it is heinous what they have done. They're history robbers for their own gain. And even now, they should be working, embracing. I tried to put myself out to be embraced with all of this. No, their mindset is too stuck in this possession frame of mind. And that's what it is. We want to possess. I'm sorry, you're not going to. Truth may have been delayed, folks, but it's not going to be stopped. There's
E-
too many of us now with the right heart.
That's
And we're
right.
coming, guys.
Ego, like we're all saying, again, within our circle here, that we've all said no ego, and that's
No. Leave it
something.
at the door. Leave it at the door.
Exactly, and that's something that I can say that I mean, I don't really formally pray, right? But I will definitely tell you that I've did a lot of soul searching and thought into who all is involved in this. Again, not naming names, trying to stay as compartmentalized as we can, compartmentalized as we can. However, I'm just going to tell you that I myself have prayed over this, and
Yeah.
I think that it is absolutely ready to just blow the lid off of it, literally.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Gabriel, Richard Gabriel, I'm gonna tell you, you 3.5 hours. I gotta call it quits. We're gonna come back. I'm gonna bring you back, and there's still so much, man, so much
Yeah.
that we have not discussed. We have
Yeah.
not even really discussed what the SAR's team has found, what you think they're going to find.
I know. It's crazy. I feel like we've just been talking for 5 minutes, but you're right. I mean, we haven't touched on any of that.
And it's okay. Again, as long as nothing happens to you, nothing happens to me, by the grace of God, we'll be back, okay? And hopefully
Yeah.
by then, a lot more stuff surfaces, all right? And we can talk about that too. What do you think?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely, Matthew.
All
I,
right.
I, I just thank you from the bottom of my heart as well.
I'm
And to
blessed.
everybody and anybody out there who views this, who goes the marathon from the other end. God knows.
We're blessed to have you, Richard. Please know that, okay? I don't believe in just coincidence. All right? Pretty much everybody on your little team here, we believe in circumstance, and the powers that be have put everybody in their place where they need to be to get things done.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is the
Yes.
that's you want the truth. I feel that that's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That is it. That is true.
Do you got any? I'm gonna go over, give you the entire screen real quick. I would love for you to just share something positive with everybody in relationship to what we're discussing tonight and what's possibly going to come out, to just, I don't know, discern things, feel your heart, whatever you got to say. Please just give them some hope, give them some light, and just share some love before I let you go. Would you do that for me, please?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And it's all yours, Brother Richard. Again, I appreciate you for being with me and being with everybody else. You got it. It's all you.
Oh my. Well, to everybody out there, I mean, I would say to you, I do sit back and reflect on all of this and try and take an outside snapshot myself of it all. And um, it brings you down to size when you think like that, because if you really consider that our history doesn't go back just a few thousand years, but in the reality of the cosmos, just consider for a moment that our history may go back millions of years. Our history, our DNA, our existence. It's said to us so many times from so many sources that we are not of the physical alone, that we come from another place which is more real than this one, and that this actually is the classroom, and that we come to the classroom, we go back from it, and we continue from there. Well, unfortunately, convictions aren't transferable. And I say to people, I've had many, many, many out of body experiences, some of those involuntary, but also voluntary out of body experiences, which have been later validated for me when I've gone to places and found the things that I've seen out of body. Convictions aren't transferable. I can describe that to you, and you can accept, hopefully, my sincerity and my honesty in telling you, giving you an account of that. No, convictions come from tested personal experience. So you've all got to make your own minds up on this. And I would say that if you set ego aside and all those other things and consider how small we are in the great scheme of things, that how about the fact that evidence is out there pointing to us not just coming from this planet, but that there was an existence for our ancestors on the moon, on Mars, and elsewhere, and that we are now coming of age to a stage where we're able to discuss this, understand it, be humble enough to accept it for what it is, and the help that's out there waiting to be given to us to bring us forward into a better world. All that's closed to us if we allow ourselves to be driven by ego, by jealousy, by selfishness, and all the other bad traits. Now, what we need in Egypt right now, in order to open this wide open, is for the Egyptian authorities just to take a deep breath and start to open the doors and start to embrace those of us, those independents who have got plenty to offer, who are not there to harm, hurt, or impede the nation of Egypt, but to help glorify it for what it is, far greater even than what it is on the world stage now. So I would just ask you just to consider that this is personal within yourself, that there is another way of looking at things. It's a spiritual way, it's a place of vibration, that there are things greater than the greatest thing that you have thought of so far, the greatest thing that you've possessed or wish to possess. There's something greater than that. I'm telling you now that when you make that connection to that higher level, like when I saw the man that visited me, who showed himself to me down inside NC2, and at other times where I've had profound out of body experiences, when I had my event, my revelatory event, those moments when you touch and make contact with that higher power of spirit, it is like a surge of the most powerful electricity going through you. It is indescribable. It throws you. I mean, the one time there where I was literally lifted from the air and thrown from the place I was laying during an out of body. My God, it is something. I wish I could convey the conviction it gives you. I can't. All I can say to you is, in the deepest of sincerity, it's true. It is out there. And any one of you that is listening now can reach it and be a part of it. Please just share, and let it flow into you. It's waiting.
Wow. Thank you, Brother Richard. I'm serious. I definitely appreciate you, and we're gonna bring you somehow, some way. I know that you're. What time did we start this broadcast? Your time, 3 a.m. Was it 3?
It was dark. It was dark. Yeah, 3 a.m.
3 a.m. Right. So when we start our broadcast here, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You are 3 a.m. your time, UK time. So. Yeah. Again, man, I appreciate you being with me, and we've got a lot more yet to discuss. Just letting you guys know that there's a lot more going to come out, and I do believe I want to wait a little bit for our, as Trevor calls it, our ally, our SARS's team. They are the ones that's bringing forth the actual "we told you so." I mean, yeah. We've all been screaming this shit for years, and now it's public. Now it's public, and we again, the dam is broke. Give it time, and Richard, myself, Trevor, whoever, we're all going to get give this as much publicity as possible. So again, Richard, thank you, buddy. I will holler you at another time, another way, another day, another way. But you need to grab some sleep, buddy. Thank you once again.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much, everyone.
You're very welcome, bud. Thank you. Okay. And we'll talk to you later.
Okay, then. Thanks, Matthew.
You're welcome, buddy.
Okay, all the very best. And to everyone.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Wow. Shit, blam, man. I don't even know what to say other than, well, it is what it is. And again, you cannot. They're not going to be able to stop what is coming. They're really not. They're not. I'm trying to make it as clear as possible. The dam is broke. We've got allies literally all over the world helping one another. Help them. Help them. Help them. Help them. Share it. Just share it. Whatever content you can find, bombard it, blast it, blow it out. Just literally canvas the internet with what's coming on. It's not just our team, it's multiple people that's sharing what the SARS team's doing. And I'm telling you, what it's doing is it's fortifying what all of you conspiratorial, I'll even say it, tinfoil hat wearing doodlebots from Planet Zayed was thinking elders type stuff. It's real stuff. It's real stuff. Okay, you've got brilliant minds that's telling you that these things are protected by vibrational frequency, things in which you cannot see. Okay, just don't take my word for it. You got a great dude up in that chat. It's Trevor Grassi. Please follow him. I wish again. We're gonna do a lot more stuff together because again, the time is now. The time is absolutely now. So you guys just take care of yourselves as well, but just be very clear that there are powers that be that would love to stifle what's going on. They've already did it to our Facebook page. They're doing it to Trevor Grassi's, trying to comment on other things that, hey, you're not really. I'm not gonna say this for him, but I watched him. Okay, Trevor's trying to comment on this guy's stuff on YouTube, trying to correct a little bit of stuff. And it's like the powers that be, those systems like, shut up, Trevor. We don't care about what you've got to say. Shut up. That's what we get. That's absolutely what we get. Remember, the Matrix Minds broadcast is a West Coast hated broadcast. They don't like this show at all. However, it doesn't matter. I know in my heart it's going to reach the people it needs to reach. It's going to touch the hearts of those that need it the most. It doesn't matter. They can try to suppress it as much as they want, but what's coming out, it's truly not going to matter. Mark my word, man. You're going to see things coming off of that plateau that you've never even dreamed about. Stories. I'm talking to everything you thought is becoming manifest. Remember that? Even like again, not to really get hypercritical or whatnot, but Christ, the Bible said there are going to be things. There are things that is hidden that will become manifest. You think it, you see it. It is now. This is the golden age, and I'm telling you right now, it is going to come off the track. It's going to come off the tracks like a loaded freight train, and there is not a damn thing that they're going to be able to do about it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. With that being said, Brainiacs, I'm going to share with you a new start, because that's what we are. We are absolutely in a new start. Okay, you guys take care of yourselves, take care of one another. I will catch you back here on Monday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock Central, right here on the Matrix Minds, somewhere on the Internet of Things. Maybe on Facebook, maybe not. If not, it's okay. We got other options, like always. You push me, I'm going to push back. It's just that way. Everybody, peace out. Love you all. We're out of here. Good night, everybody. And they keep playing. Damn it, Brainiacs. Crank it up, my dear friends. We're out of here. We'll catch you later. Yeah.
Woke up today feeling low.
Oh boy.
Hold in time, we find a way. Now it feels like
Listen
we're
up.
in disarray.
You can hit me, but I can hit back a lot harder than you think.
To make it better, I don't know. Every day's a new start, but we're drifting worlds apart. Once a spark, now it's gone cold. Promises that have grown old. I'm holding on to what we've known, but we can't seem to find a home. Caught between the night and dawn, all our love seems to be gone. Should I find or let it go? In the end, will we ever know? Do I stay or do I go? To make it better, I don't know. Every day's a new start, but we're drifting worlds apart. Once a spark, now it's gone cold. Promises that have grown old.